This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you had a great Canada Day. Welcome to our first official WST Daily of the month of July. But shout out to Connor Rabchak and Liz Hood, who did a great job with free agency fun yesterday. Although it wasn't that fun for Winnipeg Jet fans. Here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we've got lots to dive into coming out of the frenzy, if you want to call it that, of free agency. Very different free agency day and free agency class of 2025 in the National Hockey League. And yet the number one name on the board, Nikolai Ehlers, has still not signed. Now, knowing our luck, it'll happen in the next couple hours. If we really wanted to be lucky, we'd pull a Hail Mary and find out that he's pulling a Brock Besser and decides that he doesn't want to leave and is staying in Winnipeg. But I will admit at this point, even the most positive and optimistic Jet fans, I think, are prepared for some bad news on Nikolai Ehlers. And to be honest, it's a little compounded by the fact that there was a very limited UFA market. Brock Besser really being the only, legit 25, 30 goal scorer available, and Jets had been rumored to be in and aggressively pursuing his services, and he decided to stay at home for a pretty nice deal for the Vancouver Canucks. So where does that leave the Winnipeg Jets? Well, we'll get into that over the course of the show with where the roster is right now, the players that have been added to the organization, and what will become of the spot in the lineup of Nikolai Ehlers, as well as on the power play, if, as is assumed, that he does move on to a new team in the National Hockey League. We're going to break it all down with Murat of The Athletic, who will join us on today's program. We'll also talk some Bombers because they're right back at it tomorrow night. It's actually a great schedule. Like, feeling that just with the weird long weekend, yesterday being Canada Day, today sort of has a bit of a Monday vibe to it, but we don't have to wait until later on in the week for football. Bombers are back tomorrow, and great news, Bomber fans. Brady Oliveira back in the lineup for the Blue and Gold as they look to get to 4-0 and tie the Riders at the top of the division. Taylor Allen from the Free Press is going to join us a little later on as well. And hey, listen, after Pat Gregoire did it again last week with a 150-1 winner in the Rocket Classic, we got the John Deere. Patty will jump on, and the golf pick segment on Wednesdays with 3 winners in the last 4 weeks is very quickly becoming must watch on WST. So we'll do that as part of our Coolbet lines a little later on. We do have live racing tonight at Assiniboia Downs coming out of a abbreviated July 1 card that got canceled. The rest of the card got canceled due to the crazy weather last night. But we will make our ASD picks as well. I think I'm going to get out to the track tonight, actually. A beautiful night for all of that. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, welcome to everybody in chat. Great to see you all. And a big thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Manitoba Battery and Canadian Club, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Perry Toyota Dealers, and Ben Moss, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Gold Eyes, who continued their homestand tonight, Assiniboia Downs, and of course our friends at Breezy Bend Country Club. We'll get to a why not question of the day today, probably a few of them for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and of course get lots of fan feedback from you in the fan feedback segment brought to you by fansfirst.ca. Michael Remis, what's going on? How was your Canada Day?
Yeah, lovely Canada. I spent it scrolling my phone while with my family, so I was like, oh, maybe I should have actually been working like everyone else in hockey media, but I'll just, shout out to Connor and Liz for holding it down here while we were gone. And I thought we were going to see some major movement, but surprisingly, Florida able to keep their 3 big UFAs. Brock Besser deciding to stay with Vancouver. A lot of the big names not moving, and Nikolai Ehlers didn't make his decision. Chris Johnston tweeting, I don't know, it was like around 11:30 a.m. saying expect it today. Well, it's coming up, what is it, 8 p.m. right now in Denmark. So, like, how late is Ehlers going to stay up and decide this? I'm like, is he going to be doing the decision type live special like LeBron James did? We'll have to wait and see, but it was a good Canada Day. So I had, not following the free agency, but also enjoying time off with the family.
Yeah, I was out, obviously following the first hour and a half or so, the first 2 hours of free agency and waiting to see what had happened. And then when Besser signed back with Vancouver, and we hadn't heard a lot of what was, hadn't heard anything positive basically from a Jets perspective when it came to Nikolai Ehlers. I figured that was a good time to turn WST on, throw it in the pocket, do some lawn mowing and some outdoor things out at the lake, and then hope for some good news, which didn't really come. And I was joking. I was joking with Dusty on the lock shop today, Remo, that Jet fans right now kind of feel, the 50 Cent song Window Shopper? Kind of feel like that right now, because it really does feel, and listen, this is not new, but just because of the fact that Nikolai Ehlers is the belle of the ball today and has been for the last week or so, certainly after a couple of the big names like Mitch Marner never really made it to free agency, that, you have these haves and have-not teams. When it comes to unrestricted free agency, all the players are wanting to go to a few spots that are warm weather cities, are good teams that have good tax brackets, tax situations. And it just seems like it is such a losing battle for, smaller markets and teams that are in Canada, in colder markets and all of that. And, I have no doubt that the Winnipeg Jets were in on a number of these players and made really competitive offers. I think you look at a guy like Mangiapane and what he signed for in Edmonton, and think that you'd be shocked if the Jets didn't have a more lucrative offer on the table. But, guys are making decisions based on a lot of things. And if you're not, in an Ehlers or Marner, situation where there's plenty of teams and they're all looking at, making you very, very rich, other guys are taking deals based on a lot of other things. And unfortunately, that makes the job of a GM in a place like Winnipeg very difficult, even if you had a team that performed the way they did last year. And I mean, Reem, right now, it's hard to imagine anything left on the free agent market coming anywhere close to replacing where Nikolai Ehlers is in the lineup. And, it probably ends up being a conversation that stretches from today right through until training camp and into the season as to who's going to step up. Will there be new players added? Will there be potential trades? Or is this going to be on internal growth and a big step up of a player or two to try to even come close to scratching the surface of covering for the production that the Jets are going to lose, both at 5-on-5 in their top 6 and, of course, on the power play, if Ehlers, as expected, walks and signs elsewhere in the NHL at some point.
Yeah, just looking at free agency, coming out for the Jets, are they going to be a better team next year than they were last season if they can re-sign him? And yeah, who will step up and how will they replace him? And I think another conversation is, could they have approached the Ehlers situation differently that didn't result in him leaving for nothing, like trading him this year? I don't think they should have done that, or they could have done it maybe a couple years ago, but they're trying to compete, they're trying to win, so you have to find a balance. And I think there's something you said, hey, this guy was with our organization 10 years, it's his right, and it seems to be a tough decision for him right now. Otherwise, it would have been made, and maybe he is deciding, okay, are these places better than the current setup that I have in Winnipeg? We'll have to wait and see. And as far as free agents available, Thomas Drance of The Athletic, saying there's a bunch of other forwards who haven't signed yet. Jack Roslovic, Pius Suter, and Victor Olofsson, who are kind of like middle six-ish guys that he's expecting, or he's hearing that those players will sign after Ehlers. So anyone who misses out on Ehlers, whether it's Winnipeg, who's rumored, Washington, Colorado, Tampa, did I say Carolina? Like there's anyone who's Rangers, I don't know, they're outside shot, like any team, maybe they go after these guys. So we'll wait and see what happens with Ehlers, but it's holding up everything now, and he's earned the right to take his time, and this is a pretty big decision, could be big dollars, big term, and let him assess all the options before making that decision. So Chris Johnson saying coming today. Hopefully, Ehlers knows that we're here 1 to 3, and he'll do it during this time slot.
Yeah, well, I guess that would be nice for the show and the numbies, but I mean, listen, if you are invested in the Winnipeg Jets, the bottom line is it's going to be tough to hear and tough to take when we find out that he's officially no longer a Jet. I did appreciate you putting Ehlers in the thumbnail of today's show, Reem, in a Jet jersey, because unfortunately this could be the last opportunity we have to do that before he signs elsewhere. And listen, he's lucky. He is in an incredibly great situation, just considering everybody else that signed, the amount of interest there was in kind of the very few top players in and around the league. And for Ehlers, I mean, a lot of times, you don't have that luxury. July 1st comes, you get a few offers, you got to figure out which one you're going to take, and you take it before they go in a different direction. There wasn't a lot of other directions to go to. I mean, the Jets' plan B, reportedly from the likes of Weber and a bunch of the guys that are pretty dialed in, was that they were going to take a swing at Brock Besser and hope that the proximity to Minnesota, all that might help. Interestingly enough, and I didn't see this, he signed to stay with the Vancouver Canucks. And this just goes to show, I mean, so many of the things that are reported, I mean, you wonder where it's all coming from. I mean, if Coolbet had booked and had lines last week on which player is more likely to stay with their current team, Nikolai Ehlers or Brock Besser, I would have thought Ehlers would have been a heavy favorite to more likely stay put than Brock Besser. And yet here we are today with Brock very quickly in the process agreeing to a deal that I think we can say was less than he would have been able to get on the open market to stay with the Vancouver Canucks. And meanwhile, Nikolai Ehlers, by all accounts, is going to be making a decision that in all likelihood won't be the Winnipeg Jets. And again, the big caveat, I've never hoped I've been wrong about something more in my life than this.
Yeah, and Thomas Drance of The Athletic reporting, I guess Brock Besser did a conference call today with media there that he went to the gym, thought he'd get a workout in, but was too glued to his phone and couldn't emotionally get to open up his mind to the possibility of leaving. And Vancouver offered him the 7-year contract, and he said, yeah, I'll stay. And I think there's something to be said. Greg Wyshynski came on with their stuff is there theory that, hey, your stuff is there. You're already living there. It's hard to get up and want to go to somewhere else. You want to stay with what's familiar. And for Brock Besser, 7 years, $7.25 million AAV was the price for him. And I wasn't sure if Vancouver would be able to sign him, or they were seemingly interested in that, but they were, and they did sign him and Thatcher Demko. And I know Vancouver did an interesting job considering I thought the spot they were in. They acquired Evander Kane as well. I don't know if they're going to have much better results. They're going to need Elias Paterson to find his game if they want to get anywhere. But that was a surprise when I looked at my phone and I'm like, oh man, like every time I'm with my wife and I react like that to hockey news, like she thinks like something, she gets mad because she thinks like, oh, something like real happened to someone we know. I'm like, oh no, this millionaire hockey player just stayed with his team. And she's like, oh, I don't care about that. I'm like, what? I kind of have to.
That's why I didn't bring it up to you. I only reacted, honey, and
yeah,
we'll just continue with that. Just on Vancouver for a minute. That was a interesting bit of business that they did yesterday. Like, they get Besser back, Now, again, they were trying to sign him during the season for around 40 mil and ended up costing them 50 to get it done. Connor Garland, wasn't he like trying to arrange for a trade a year ago? He comes back at, I believe, was it 6x6 for Garland?
6. That's correct. Yeah.
6x6 for Garland. And then after 3 injury-plagued seasons, they end up giving Thatcher Demko Hellebuck money, albeit only for a 3-year term as opposed to the 7 that Hellebuck got. So they actually spent a lot of money, but it was all internal guys. Now, listen, I'm looking at the chat, and I do like the vibe going on in the chat right now. We are realists. We know where things are at right now. But again, it is good to remind, as Jay Miller says, the cup is not won on July 1st. PDJ NYC, it's not like yesterday is the last day this roster gets tweaked. It's a playoff team as constructed with internal growth and a trade deadline yet to present itself. And Rob Mahoney says, I don't know. It seemed like the Panthers won next year's cup yesterday. Of course, the Panthers, the team that everyone is chasing, found a way to keep all 3 of their massive free agents. Sam Bennett signed the 8x8. Aaron Ekblad, I mean, listen, this might be the best team-friendly contract in the league. $6.1 million on an 8-year extension. But the craziest one, Remo, was Brad Marchand. And we'd heard like Nick Kyprios and all these people out of Toronto saying, hey, listen, the Leafs are ready and waiting for Brad Marchand to get to July 1st. And they are not scared about the term he's going to want. And the money is going to be there. And we had heard that the demand by Marchand, which to be honest seemed insane at the time for a guy that's 37, soon to be 38 years old, was going to be $8 million a year for 4 years. Well, guess what? Bill Zito found a way to do it. Now, we'll see how this ages, but they couldn't fit the $8 million on the cap. Oh, 6.1, no problem. So let's just give him the money that he would have got, the $32 million bucks that he wants for 4 years. Let's give it to him for 6 years. Now, that money is going to be on the Panthers cap no matter what. If Marchand gets injured, if Marchand retires, I mean, it's a 35-plus contract, so there's no way of getting out of it. But when you have a team right now that is as good as Florida is, Reem, looking to, be the closest thing we've seen to a dynasty, winning 3 in a row since the 80s, you take that chance. And the cap is going to be going up. They'll have opportunities to, if Marchand is not playing or not able to help the team, but they can win another Stanley Cup, they'll be more than happy on taking what will basically amount to a cap penalty towards the end of that deal. But I know Jim Nill has won the GM of the Year award, I believe, the last 3 years. I think it's about time Bill Zito gets a little bit of love in that. And I know he's been a finalist because, listen, Florida has a bunch of built-in advantages that places like Winnipeg, for instance, don't have. That isn't Bill Zito's fault. He's taken full advantage of it and is building an absolute powerhouse and is now doing his best to keep it together.
Yeah, these guys don't want to leave. You won 2 cups in a row if you're Bennett and Ekblad and Marchand you got back there. And they also offered Marchand 6 years, $31 million. I don't know if anyone was going to offer him 6 years at age 37. It's pretty wild stuff there. And yeah, there in Ekblad when he took way less money. He didn't want to leave. And Sam Bennett as well, yeah, $8 million. So the Florida Panthers, they're certainly the team to watch. They did lose Nate Schmidt. Nice to see him get a 3-year deal in Utah. But I like the move that they did signing Jeff Petrie for like $775,000. So Florida, I think every team is using them as, hey, we're trying to get to that level. And when you're back-to-back Cup champs and 3 times in the final in a row, there's certainly, they're the team to beat, and everyone's trying to keep pace with them. It's going to be tough out there. Carolina, they're trying hard. Re-signing Stankoven, pushing for Ehlers, the Condre Miller trade as well, signing him to 8 years. So teams are getting in there, but I think Florida's the benchmark.
I mean, listen, signing, quality young players to long-term deals seems to be the best way of going about business. And listen, the Jets have done a good job of that. That's, I think, a big reason why they've been as competitive as they've been for the last number of years. But, coming up, it's going to be time for an extension for Kyle Connor. They've got a year to get that done. Or we'll be in this situation with KFC next year at this time. So I'm sure. Now, tomorrow's a big day, though, in Winnipeg. I mean, we can't overlook the fact that Jonathan Toews officially signed yesterday with the Winnipeg Jets. He'll meet the media at a special press conference tomorrow.
Friday. Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday?
I know we're all
Sorry,
screwed up.
excuse me.
We're all screwed up on the days.
I have no idea what day it is. Friday afternoon.
Friday at 1 p.m. They just sent out the release.
Excellent. So that'll be a big day on WST. We'll probably come in maybe a minute or two early and just carry that sucker live and then react live to it and dive all in. I know, by the way, if you missed our show on Monday or what we put out on social media, very pleased to have Connor Rabchak now as a full-time part of the WST team. So Connor's actually down covering development camp today. He'll be there for the next couple days covering development camp. And he'll join us with a wrap of the entire weekend, or week, I should say, on Friday. But Friday's show will be dominated by Jonathan Toews' introduction to the Winnipeg media. And I guess the big question, Remo, is, outside of Nikolai Ehlers, if Nikolai Ehlers goes, I mean, is there a name that makes sense for the Winnipeg Jets? And listen, as I say, we're talking about hitting around the periphery, which is usually where the Jets have been doing it. Pius Suter, who's been effective. And I've thought this for a while that there might have been an opening for Jack Roslovic to come back to a place that he knows with a much better opportunity was there before. But there still is room to add to this roster, and there's money to spend. There's no doubt about that, despite the RFAs that need to get done.
Yeah, just looking at the Winnipeg Jets additions and subtractions, we're waiting to hear Nikolai Ehlers. Brandon Tanev signs a 3-year deal with Utah. Mason Appleton, he hasn't signed anywhere. And Dominic Toninato signed with Chicago, a 2-year, 2-way deal. Dylan Coughlin, I think he went back to Vegas. And so they've added Jonathan Toews. Tanner Pearson signed a 1-year, $1 million contract, and he joined Vegas last year on a PTO and had a nice season with them. Certainly an experienced player who's familiar with a number of the Jets, including Mark Scheifele, who he played with in junior. And how about Cole Koepke, physical energy winger? He grew up with Pionk brothers, and he threw the body around 177 hits last year. So I imagine Pearson and Koepke put him in on the 3rd and 4th lines, and they've announced a number of depth signings, guys who can help in the AHLs. But as far as the NHL, are the Jets going to be better than last season where they failed to get past the second round against Dallas? They had a President's Trophy winning team. They've added Jonathan Toews. I think he's a big question mark, not having played for a couple of years. And at age 37, losing Nikolai Ehlers would be a big blow. And how are they going to replace him? I know Murat was a big fan of Andrew Mangiapane. He signed with Edmonton. Brock Besser, we were hoping could be a replacement. Stayed in Vancouver, which we just mentioned. But would Jack Roslovic want to come back? I don't think so. I think he's been here before. But Victor Olofsson had some nice games. And who's the other one that we're waiting to hear on? Pius Suter. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a center, he would be an interesting name, I think, too. So we'll wait for those dominoes. But the first big one is Nikolai Ehlers.
At this point, I mean, honestly, I'd probably be satisfied with any of those guys we just mentioned, just because the whole of Ehlers is so big. I mean, it's going to take some internal growth. It's going to take a young guy or two to step up and, maybe not necessarily surprise, but take that next step and be a more impactful player or earn a spot in the lineup that wasn't there before. But I mean, listen, we said it over and over. I mean, Ehlers has meant so much to this team in so many different ways that, I mean, it's just really, really difficult to replace. And even if you got Brock Besser, I'm not sure that it totally replaces Nikolai Ehlers. In fact, I'd argue that it doesn't. So listen, there's no way I think anyone can sit here or get in conversations today saying the Jets are better than they were at the end of the season. But at the same time, as people have mentioned, the season doesn't start for 3 months. And then once you get into the season, there's plenty of times to improve and make moves. But, I mean, there was a lot of money spent yesterday. A lot of players that have, gotten new homes, and not many of them here in Winnipeg. And, but a lot of people wanted opportunity for young players. Well, I guess that might be coming sooner as opposed to later, especially if Nikolai Ehlers was in that spot right now. So we will stay on top of this as soon as we know, and if it happens during the show today, we will get to that. Just, you mentioned Koepke. It seems like the Winnipeg Jets now have a monopoly on Duluth guys. Guys that played at UMD Bulldogs, that grew up with those players. And I'll admit, I was not really familiar with him before Reem. He signs the 1-year, $1 million deal, but comes in and, digging into some of his numbers. Actually, like, if you're thinking about fourth line players, guys can come in and help a team. He's a pretty intriguing name. He played 73 games last year, his first full season in the NHL, scored 10 goals, actually had some pretty good analytic numbers for a fourth liner. Is rumored to be a physical player that can hit. So I'm actually kind of intrigued. But again, we're talking about two different levels of players when we talk about the potential one that is going out the door in Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is you look at, all the contracts around the league, a lot of big dollars handed out, and free agency is a time where you see a lot of overpayment and the
worst deals of the year are always signed on July 1st.
And a lot of bad ones. Cody Ceci getting some big dollars from LA, Tanner Jeannot, big dollars from Boston. So I think there is a positive for the Jets to stay out of this and keep your cap space. You can be flexible, and you're going to have to work a trade with a team up against the cap or find some way to replace Nikolai Ehlers. And I'll give credit to Ken Wiebe, who tweeted at 10:17 a.m. yesterday, Huss. The focus is on top six scoring, as it should be, but I wonder about a guy like forward Cole Koepke on the Jets' fourth line. 10 goals, 17 points last season with the Bruins, and 177 hits. As you mentioned, alum of University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. So the Jets, look, they have trouble attracting free agents, but if they have players players are friends with other players around the league, and you hear Cole Koepke saying, "Oh, I grew up with Pionk," or you're familiar with Alex Iafallo and Sandberg. I think you can use that as a benefit and get guys. Was not that familiar with this player, but it seems like he can certainly bring a physical element to the fourth line, and look, signed here and fill the hole from Tanev when Tanev left. So I'm actually kind of interested in him. And yeah, Pearson mentioning what he talked to Luke Shen, who had good things to say about Winnipeg. So you can use your own players. It's after July 1, not tampering after 11 a.m. July 1 has. So certainly interesting the Jets' approach there.
Murat's going to join us in about 15. Let me quickly shout out our friends at Rolly's Transfer, folks. Now that we're well into the summer, many of you may be on the move. And if you are moving your family elsewhere in the Winnipeg and southern Manitoba area, lean on Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving, now into their 7th decade, family owned and operated right here in the Peg. Check out their website at rollys.com. And in the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And let them know where you're planning on moving, what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rolly's is famous for. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's. You might even get moved in that beautiful new Winnipeg Sports Talk truck you see on the roads around. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollys.com. Just got a reminder in my email for my friends at St. Patel Dental Center. It's time to come in for an appointment or a cleaning. Folks, if it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, why don't you holler at them? Go see our pal Dr. Terry and his amazing staff down at 167 St. Anne's Road. Beautiful new facility, state-of-the-art equipment, 167 St. Anne's, free parking, conveniently located right behind the building, and they'll take care of customers as they've been doing for decades, from 6 months to 99 plus, with everything from cleanings to dental implants. For all your dental needs, St. Vital Dental Center is there for you. Tell them Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Make an appointment today over at stvitaldental.ca. Well, hey, Canada Day just finished up yesterday. Fun Canada Day weekend. And hey, when you're thinking Canada, Canadian whiskey, you think of Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the most popular beverage at Princess Auto Stadium, and now at your local Manitoba liquor marts. In addition to the great taste of the original Canadian Club, we've got the Club Pack with their 3 ready-to-drink cocktails, good to go in cans. CC and Ginger Ale, the CC Citrus Smash, and the CC Half and Half. Tried them all wonderful. In particular, that half and half of the golf course this year is a winner. Check it out today on your next visit to your local Manitoba liquor marts. And hey, we're fully into summer right now, which means camping, boating, fishing, you name it. Manitoba Battery got us through the winter, getting the cars on the road, keeping your truck moving. Now it's time to have some fun in summer. And listen, for all of those things, you need batteries. Well, wake up and stop paying big money and wasting your time at the big box stores when your local option, Manitoba Battery, with 2 locations in town, can save you $50 to $60 on some of the batteries you'll need for boating and camping, with the best service in town, as they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere in the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. So pop by and see them, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive in the south side of the city, or simply give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com today. All right, Reem, we're going to be hearing from Murat in a minute. We'll dive more into free agency. But in the meantime, the new players that were just drafted by the Winnipeg Jets, including some of their top prospects, are here in the city going through development camp. And, of course, our pal Jimmy Roy's front and center, along with the player development team. Lots of off-ice stuff, some things on ice. Here's Jimmy Roy on getting development camp going and the group of players that are here in Winnipeg this week.
There's a real personal touch to being able to spend time with these players in the middle of the summer. And not only for us, but for them to get to know each other and, hopefully build some relationships that, will happen in the future, that will blossom and be a big part of this organization. You do everything you can off the ice and, at this times to help them do that. And I think that's one of the great things about this week.
Given the state of this prospect pool right now, are you brushing up on your Swedish?
No, you know what? We've got some great prospects. Not only the Swedes, we've got some great prospects. I like going over there and seeing those players. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's just really good to have all the kids here.
All right, so there's Jimmy Roy just on getting things going. One of the big things is not only for the organization to get to know the players a little bit more and set them on their path moving forward. But Roy talked about the opportunity for the players to get familiar with each other.
Throughout the week, they'll get out in the community. We go out for supper at a different restaurant every night in the city so they can get to see the city and know it a little bit, be out in the community. But not only that, I think the friendships, like I was just sitting in there having lunch with the guys and listening to how loud it was in there and everybody talking. It wasn't quiet. It was just, and that's what I was thinking, okay, this is what you want for a camp like this. Everybody's getting to know each other, right? And that's a big part of it.
All right. Yeah, certainly. There's, kids that are coming in, with their own draft class. And then other players like a Colby Barlow, who's been to this a couple times, looking to officially make his move to professional hockey and try and earn a spot with the big club. Here's Barlow on his third camp and the season he just had, which, of course, included a trade and a monster playoff run with 33 points in 21 playoff games.
Yeah, it's been great so far. A lot of new faces, which is nice. I mean, new guys from all over the place is always cool, learning about them. The running test is pretty fun. We did that last year, but the skating test should be fun too on Wednesday.
I wanted to ask, just from a great distance, it looks like your stats exploded in the playoffs. And what went so well for you there? And
Yeah, I think just over the year, I was working a lot off the ice, just working on myself, working on, Wolfie gave me a lot of things to work on, in the gym. And I think that kind of all came together near the second half of the season, near the end of the playoffs, which really, gave me that extra jump.
And Reem, Barlow is a really interesting guy to talk about at this time, especially considering, that Nikolai Ehlers could very well no longer be part of the picture any minute now, as we do the show right now live here on YouTube. Barlow's stock was down a little bit at the start of last year, and he played on a really bad team. He finally got traded, and I think it took him a little time to really feel at home and comfortable in his new spot. But man, when the playoffs got going, as we mentioned, 14 goals and 19 assists with the Oshawa Generals. And, you love to see a guy step up his game in the playoffs as competition keeps going. But for a player like Colby Barlow, knowing what's happening around this team and looking at a couple of the perceived kind of holes right now on the roster, nothing will be determined until training camp. But you have to know that not only are you turning pro and getting ready to make that move, but, if you go in and shine and surprise some people, there might be an opportunity to be in the bigs sooner than maybe was originally planned.
Yeah, I think for Colby Barlow, his game grew as the season went on, and he resulted in that big playoffs. And I think there's some chatter, hey, the Jets have signed a lot of bottom six, fourth line forward types, and you look at how many they have, it's going to be tough. Well, it's going to be up to these guys to come in and have a very strong camp and show that they're capable of playing NHL and making the lineup. And if their play is strong enough, they'll certainly be given that opportunity. So Colby Barlow, man, it seemed like yesterday, him and Rutger yucking it up at one of the most exciting development camps that we've seen. But Rutger's since been traded, but Braden Yager's a guy who, looking to make an impact within the organization, and he had a nice season last year as well.
Well, and we'll hear from Yager in a minute. And listen, I think that guys like, Barlow, everyone, even the players that are on the Moose, the Jets right now, I think are going to, benefit in some ways from having Jonathan Taves with the group and, in camp and in that locker room. But I think about Braden Yager, who started his pro journey at development camp with the Pittsburgh Penguins and training camp, lead in on Sidney Crosby, and now has one of the other great winners of this generation in his locker room, and what that might do for Yager as he makes his transition to pro hockey. Yager spoke as well. Shout out to Dave Manuka of Illegal Curve for getting this. Here's Yager on the season just passed as he transitions to the pros.
It was good. Obviously moved from Moose Jaw to Lethbridge, and obviously missed Moose Jaw, but had a great time in Lethbridge, and got to play under a great coach and Bill Peters, and had a lot of great players, and it was a lot of fun.
What was it like to, you obviously got to wear the C for a little bit, and that was, what that mean to you?
Yeah, obviously it's a franchise that, means a lot to me, and that was something that, when I got there, that was a goal of mine to be a leader on that team, and to achieve that's, really cool, and I think it didn't really change much, but it did, it's an honor to, get that recognition from the organization and the staff, so it was really cool.
Yeah, Braden Yager, the other, much as Colby Barlow did, got moved last year and, to a very competitive team after having that incredible playoff run the year before. But like with every player, you come to development camp, you come to training camp, you go back to junior, you're looking to progress. And here's what Yager had to say about how his game grew over the course of the past 12 months.
The biggest thing is getting bigger and stronger. Obviously, worked out a lot throughout the year, and I'm gonna try to gain as much strength as I can. As hard as that is throughout the year, but I tried the best I can to do that. And I think just gaining the trust of your coaches. You got to be able to play both ends of the ice, or you won't get much ice time. So that's something that I'm going to come into camp this year and really try to gain the trust of the coaches here and kind of work my way up.
Yeah, and Reem, listen, by all accounts, he's a talented offensive player, but, really even before he was in the Jets mix, and when we were at the draft and he was selected by the Pittsburgh Penguins, he did come with a resume of a player that, that does it in both ends, a full 60-meter player, if you will.
60-meter, yes. 200, what is it, 200 foot or...
That's what they call him in Europe, the 60-meter player.
Oh, 60-meter. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, look, he's drafted in the first round, 14th overall, nice trade. Won the Memorial Cup with Moose Jaw, 23-24, just captain, Team Canada, the World Juniors most recently. So, look, he played, he played 5 WHL seasons here, and looking to see what the future holds for him. Certainly had the opportunity to learn under Crosby when he was in Penguins camp, and mentioned how cool it was in this clip coming up, just being when he got the call up to the Jets for their Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, here's what Braden Yeager had to say about the opportunity to join the Jets at the end of the season and be with the club through the Stanley Cup playoffs and just be a part of it and see what it was all about.
Yeah, that was unreal. I mean, just getting the opportunity to learn, watch those guys go through, the battle of, Stanley Cup playoffs, and obviously that's where I want to be in the future, and battling, playing in the whiteout would be, pretty crazy, and just experience that, and getting to come to the rink and see them in the morning on days off, and all the ice packs, and I think one thing is just the short memory. They win a game, they don't talk about the next day. They lose a game, it's all about the next game, and that was something that I learned kind of just being around the guys, and also just you pick up things that happen a lot on the ice, and it was really great, and getting to skate with the team a couple times was really cool.
And here's just one more quickie from Braden Yeager before we hook up with Murat of The Athletic, looking ahead to what he wants to achieve this week in a camp.
I'm just get familiar with more of the young players, hopefully some players that we get to play with for a long time, and I think it's a development camp. Try to develop and learn as much as I can, ask questions from the staff, and all that. And I think that's the biggest thing is ask questions, learn as much as we can, and kind of know what to expect coming into main camp.
All right, there is Braden Yeager. All right, Murat is ready to go. Hey, huge shout out to our friends at Princess Auto, and of course Princess Auto Stadium. Bombers on the road tomorrow, then on the bye, July 18th. The next time we'll be back at Princess Auto Stadium. And listen, because of the weather, they weren't able to blow off all those fireworks last night. So I'm hoping they save those for one of the Bomber games a little later on. But a great show yesterday for everyone that went out. Awesome free family event at Princess Auto Stadium every Canada Day. Of course, Princess Auto is where you find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop on CM Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Much more on the Bombers a little later on when Taylor Allen joins us on the show. Next week's the week. I'm actually going to be away. Great to have Connor on full time. He'll be jumping in and helping out Remis because I'm going to be at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, and I cannot wait. If you have not already checked it out, go to aikenslake.com for more information on a fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. And as amazing as the world-class fishing is, the hospitality is actually even better. aikenslake.com for information on the 2025 season. And check them out on socials at Aikens Lake for everything about what the Aikens experience is all about. And hey, shout out to the guys at F Apparel. Wedding season is here. Folks, if you're needing to up your menswear game, get on down to F Apparel, the best in custom men's suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, men's accessories. And if you are in a wedding party or getting married, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a special discount for the wedding party when you get your suits for the big day at F. They're at 190 Smith Street downtown. Check them out in store or make an appointment to pop in or find out more online at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, Murat's good to go. This segment brought to you by our Prairie Toyota dealers who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear, and crank up that rear power window so you can let in the fresh air. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.39% APR with $71.99 down. Hybrid options available as well. Visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, Murat Atesh of The Athletic joins us now. Murat, hope you had a happy Canada Day after a lot of waiting for everyone covering the Winnipeg Jets yesterday. What's going on?
Hey, yeah, a lot of waiting for sure.
Yeah, we'll just get that echo fixed.
Sorry, one sec.
Just let me know when we're
Go for it.
we're good on that. Yeah. So what was it like around the building yesterday? Was there another floor hockey game like broke out a couple years ago?
You know, there could have been a basketball game because the Sea Bears court is set up real nicely. But I think it was Bombing who said he looked for a ball and couldn't quite find one. So we were inches away from that. Even myself, I prepped for, there's a one point I thought I was going to go to the Iceplex. I prepped for writing a different thing. I got down to the rink closer to when I would normally expect a Chevy press conference to happen. And, you know, time goes by, the Tanner Pearson, Cole Koepke signings. There's a moment where we think he might speak that day, but without sizable news to report or discuss, the decision was made to sort of just wait till Friday when the Winnipeg Jets unveiled Jonathan Toews.
Well, so exactly. I mean, it sounds like there's still a lot going on. There's still some players that aren't signed, including Nikolai Ehlers. Where are the Jets at right now, as far as you can tell, when it comes to free agency, still being in on players? And I guess we got to talk about the Ehlers situation, because until he signs with another team, I think there's many Jet fans, and I will include myself in that category, that are still holding out a shred of hope that maybe he'll pull a Brock Besser and decide to stay home.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan Toews and the degree to which the city celebrated his UFA signing with Winnipeg, a lot of that is about the legacy and the quality of player and all that sort of stuff. Another is because he sort of proves, as the exception to the Winnipeg UFA rule, that UFAs don't tend to sign in Winnipeg. So the Jets can attempt to pitch an Andrew Mangiapane, or they can attempt to pitch a Brock Besser or what have you. If a player doesn't have a ton of experience with Winnipeg, or maybe they're not a fourth line player looking for a little bit more opportunity, like a Tanner Pearson or a Cole Koepke, you know, it's hard to make that draw. So where are the Winnipeg Jets? They're in tough. That's where the Winnipeg Jets are with respect to free agency. They've pivoted towards a slew of AHL signings that should make the Moose a much better team at that level. And yes, they are technically not out of the Nikolai Ehlers sweepstakes until he announces something. I'm not imagining that's an outcome that's going to go Ehlers and Winnipeg's way either.
What are you hearing about Ehlers? And this has been fascinating to me, because now, again, maybe some of this is just sort of smoke from some of the guys that are insiders, but like, Ehlers has been notoriously quiet. His agent has never really said much. And, you know, over the course of the last, week or so, some of the top insiders have talked about, oh, well, it's been long known he's really wanted to play on the top line. Well, some of these places that he was rumored to be playing for, there's not a clear path to basically, here you go, here's your top line minutes and top line PP. There's been other reports that, you know, he's looking for a quieter place to play because sometimes even Winnipeg was a little too loud. has any of this been on your radar before, or is this just sort of filling time right now on all these shows that people got to talk forever until something actually happens with the number one guy on the board?
Yeah, it's tough to make statements where you end up inside Nikolai Ehlers' head, right? Like, his thought process is his own. And so while it had been put to me that he would prefer maybe a market he could disappear into a little bit more away from the rink, that had been put to me at one point prior to all this insider discussion about it. I don't know if that's true because Nikolai Ehlers hasn't told me that it's true, right? And like, as speculation reaches a fever pitch, sometimes it can be helpful to sort of pump the brakes and step back and think, okay, well, how do we know if something's true? If he doesn't say it and, you know, his best friend or parent or agent doesn't say it, the Kevin Cheveldayoff doesn't say it, we don't know that it's absolutely true. And even if Kevin Cheveldayoff said it, it would be up to Ehlers to sort of verify that or not, right? So this stuff about him preferring a quieter market, I lean towards believing. It's been put to me by somebody who I trust. Do I know it? Absolutely not. As for the opportunity stuff, I think it's real. I don't think Ehlers is saying first line or bust. I actually don't think that that's close to it whatsoever. I think the right team, the right fit, the right second line, the right statement of belief in Nikolai Ehlers. I actually believe that despite opportunity and minutes being an issue in Winnipeg, which they were, don't let anybody tell you that it wasn't at least part of the decision. It's not as though it's first line for or bust for him where he's going now.
So he's going to be a very wealthy young man, and frankly already is, but he'll be getting a lot more. What do you think is driving Nikolai Ehlers' decision, and what will be the determining factor once he decides where he's going?
Yeah, I mean, put yourself in those shoes, right? And the pie chart is big. It's not one thing. Like, if he signs somewhere and gets an amount of money that fans are thinking, oh, geez, I think he could have got more elsewhere. Well, it's because money matters, but it's not everything. And if he signs somewhere, which, you know, like Carolina, where they're really in need of scorers like him, but some people don't view Carolina as a contender, you might say, well, hey, then winning clearly doesn't matter. The Jets finished ahead of Carolina in the standings last year, but it's part of the picture, right? So for me, I'm looking at teams that are genuine contenders. And in my mind, that's the entire top 10 of the NHL standings last year. That includes Winnipeg. It includes Washington. It includes Carolina. It would include Florida, who finished 11th, but they're not a part of this. And I think that that's the level of winning. I think it just means he's not going to sign in Chicago. Didn't go far down the line with Utah. I think that's the type of degree to which winning matters. I think opportunity just means proper second line and not third line minutes, and maybe a shot on the power play and a chance to fit in on a good team. And I think that he could get those things in Carolina, in Washington, or even in one team where I keep getting told to keep your eye out for this team. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how they have the money. But that's another one where, gosh, that's a really good team too.
I mean, the one name of a team that got brought up yesterday by a couple of the insiders that did absolutely churn my stomach was the Colorado Avalanche. Like, I think that if he signed with Florida or the Rangers or somebody out east, you know, it would be 10 years of great service. Wish you would have stayed, but we get it, and thank you for your services. It would be a little bit of a, to use a wrestling term, heel turn if all of a sudden Nikolai Ehlers is moving elsewhere in the Central Division and going head-to-head with the Jets 5 or 6 times a year and maybe more in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. That would be, like, we were trying to, when Remo was on the show taking things over for you, we were trying to think of, like, what the circumstances would be for Nikolai Ehlers to get booed upon a return to Winnipeg, because he was a popular Jet. Even the people who were like, okay, get over it, you know, journalists, forget about the minutes. Who weren't giant fans of his, let's say, I think appreciate that he was good in the community, good with the media, good in that sort of regard. And maybe signing in Colorado could get close. I don't think it would do it. I think it would be one of the more unpopular places. But I got to say, And again, Huss, I don't know. I'm not making promises, but I don't think Colorado is one of his final couple of teams here.
If you had to, I mean, from what you're hearing, I mean, who's the front runner right now? I mean, if we were going to put a nickel down and make a bet with some buddies as to who that team is Carolina still the favorite? And why do you think it's taking as long as it is? Is there just that many teams that are making offers that, he wants to spend some time on?
Yeah, I mean, I think my read of Ehlers is that he's a thoughtful guy, right? You ask him a question in a scrum, and I know this is a big leap, but you ask him a question in a scrum, he'll take a long pause, he'll think about it, he'll give you a thoughtful answer that addresses the question. And if he's making decisions along that same type of pace, it's not surprising that it's a little bit slower. Maybe more realistic is this. He's emerged as the top unrestricted free agent on a market that could have been a lot different. And I think that there's been some value in speaking to coaches on the teams that he might end up playing for, actually sussing out a role. Where do you see me? What line might I play on? All that sort of stuff. I think there's been a bit of a courtship process, you know what I mean, with proper pitches in a way that really is unusual. We tend to get a lot of 11:01 a.m. Eastern or Central, signings. And I think that he's actually going through the entire process, taking his time and thinking about it. So that's why I think it's going slowly. And then Huss, if you're asking me where I think he's going to sign, I'm going to tell you that I think it's down to just a couple of teams. I think the two front runners are the Carolina Hurricanes and somehow the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know how. And I think that one other team to keep an eye out for would be Washington.
So where does this leave the Jets, Murat? Because as I said, it was reminding me of the 50 Cent song Window Shopper, because, they were kind of looking at some of the nice things, maybe trying to purchase, but not really getting let in the door on a lot of these things. And the bottom line is the guy walking out the door has been a big part of this team for a number of years, a huge part of the Jet power play, and really the offensive catalyst on the team outside of what the Jets were throwing out on that top line.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd quote another 50 Cent song at you, and I'm shocked that I know this, but Patiently Waiting would be where the Winnipeg Jets would sit today. Like,
Nicely done, Murat.
Hey, thank you. One of Eminem's best features ever. And anyway, I don't know a lot about Eminem, but he is amazing in that song. The Jets with Nikolai Ehlers could have used help, right? I think that's a fact. I think the postmortem was, how did they get into the third round instead of the second? How did they get into the fourth round? Well, you need guys that are quote unquote tough to play against, but that can also hang with that top end talent. Like, if you want to survive against not just the Dallas Stars or the Edmonton Oilers, but the Florida Panthers, you got to be able to go a top 9 deep at least. You have to have those players be tough to play against and capable of scoring. And Winnipeg needed help there. Now, there's risk that they're a 2-line team, the Mark Scheifele scoring line and the Adam Lowry shutdown line, depending on what form that they take. The ways that they get out of that is if there's a surprise move that we don't know about. If Cole Perfetti takes a pretty big step forward, and he's on track to take a step forward, but like, can he take a star turn? If there's a different lineup combination that we haven't thought of, or if Jonathan Toews is a flat-out, bona fide, capable of what he did at 30 years old type of second-line center. For me, that's a lot of maybes. I see a playoff caliber team. I don't know how they get to that next level from here outside of building cap space and making other moves during the season.
Do you anticipate the Jets? I mean, like, there's guys like Roslovic, Pius Suter, Victor Olofsson, just to name a few, that very mid-tier, kind of middle six guys. Do you think the Jets will be or are still in on players like that? Like, have they moved on to Plan B, and is there still things happening outside of the AHL level ads that we saw today?
I mean, I have to imagine that they're pushing. I can't say I know who they're reaching out to. Of the group that's left, I mean, Pius Suter is an interesting player. He did have an absolute hot streak towards the end of the season there. Vancouver went through the ringer and has been through it over the last couple of years in that room. So maybe there's some teams that think there's a chance to make him something in line with that end of season hot streak. I don't know. Jack Roslovic, I can't see that return. I really just can't. By the time that he left, and I think he was hoping to go, right? I don't know if he made a formal trade request or merely was happy to be out, but I don't think he felt at home here. I guess never say never. Mason Appleton isn't gonna win over any hearts, I think, in terms of like, hey, the Jets took another step, and I don't know how close he is to a return because his agent Rich Winter politely told me he does not like to speak to media. So there's, I guess what I'm saying is it's hard for me to find. It's hard for me to find that solution. Maybe they pivot to the trade market and decide to overpay for a Brian Rust or something like that. I don't think that that's where this is going for them, and I can't figure out what the answer is going to be.
So internally, I mean, looking at the guys that, are with the Winnipeg Jets right now, either players from last year, guys that were with the Moose, or some of the more veteran prospects, if you will, that are part of development camp. Two guys that we just listened to, I should say, in Colby Barlow and Braden Yeager. How much does this change the situation for those players? And, might the Jets be more likely or willing to, if a player can come in and have a really good camp that maybe wasn't in the plans to be with the big club, like, might that happen this year, do you think? Or are we going to be looking at like Alex Iafallo moving up, for instance, and or potentially Nino Niederreiter, and just sort of having a pecking order move up the lineup, and obviously have Jonathan Toews in the mix, but no Adam Lowry for the first couple months?
Yeah, I'm imagining that it's a step up the pecking order, but there is more room on forward or at forward for somebody to come in, have a brilliant camp, show that they can play two-way hockey against NHL players and produce at the other end of the ice. You wouldn't expect it based on what they did in the AHL last year, but Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov, this should be your music. Like, this should be your cue. It's the best opportunity that you've had so far in your careers. I still think the Jets go with the veterans where possible. On the back end, like Elias Salomonsson reminds me of where Dylan Samberg was a few years ago, where he could have the camp of his life, and no matter how good he is or how good we believe him to be, I can't imagine the Jets going through all of the veterans they need to go through to make him a full-time NHL player this year. So yeah, if somebody's going to step in and play some amount of NHL time, it's probably going to be early when Lowry's not an option. And it's probably going to be someone who can keep up in the middle six, and maybe that's Brad Lambert. Wouldn't it be a treat if he showed up at camp and just put any AHL doubts behind himself?
Yeah, that certainly would be nice. What do you make of Barlow and Yeager? I mean, how close would they be in the opportunity rankings to a Lambert or a Chibrikov that have sort of done their time in the American Hockey League? They're both first rounders, though. I mean, we do see first rounders. Nikolai Ehlers was a first rounder that came in and stuck with the club as a rookie and moved on. What do you make of those two players in particular? And is there a scenario you could see that, if there aren't any significant ads, that maybe there is the opportunity for one of those guys to grab a job?
If it's one of those two, I think it would be Braden Yeager. Colby Barlow, he had an up and down season, and he really turned it on in the playoffs. And I think the long-term concern with him is there enough dimension to his game outside of his shot and his finishing to really carve out a successful NHL career? And I think that based on what he did in the playoffs, people are optimistic and, okay, cool, there's some exciting momentum going with Colby Barlow again. But I think him skipping the line, skipping the AHL sort of development, doesn't sound like what I would expect. I think that they'd really want him to, not only round out his game, but then prove that he can get into good spots to score and use that shot of his against that pro level. Braden Yeager, for me, he's the guy that does every little thing right. There's so much detail to his game. He has that hockey nerd in him. I don't know that he'll ever be a spectacular NHL player, but one of those middle six guys that whatever job he has, he does well. And I've assumed that's a slow play too, but he's a more complete, whether it's Lambert or Chibrikov or Barlow, you can sort of point to flaws in all of Winnipeg's top prospects. Braden Yeager, pretty complete, pretty all around. And I think that might earn him, more dimension as his pro career continues.
Yeager to me is so interesting because of the rep that he comes with, being such a responsible, complete player that has continued to grow through junior hockey. Might it be the offensive side of the game that sort of determines how far he can go in training camp in the preseason and potentially into the regular season?
Yeah, get into spots, which probably he can do, but get into spots once the competition is not just a bunch of juniors your age or first-time pros and all that sort of stuff, and still do it when the veterans show up. Okay, good. That would be a big step and a real promising sign. But if Braden Yeager can get into those spots against those veterans and then put the puck in the net or make sure that his line mates do, yeah, that would be a separator. Because sort of a jack of all trades type player as he is, if he can show people that he can produce against NHL level talent, that's going to be that would be a huge separator for me in guessing how they evaluate him.
Murat, I was following everything yesterday and seeing some of the contracts that were signed, and some of them were way beyond what I expected them to be. The Provorov re-signing in Columbus. I mean, Tanner Jeannot, after a couple really down years, getting a 5-year deal and $17 million. But I think that speaks to what Florida has done, the type of player that Florida has, and what so many teams are looking for. I think that he was maybe the biggest beneficiary of all of that. But then I look at some other players that took, like Brock Besser took a little bit less. I think Mangiapane probably took less than the Jets offered to go to Edmonton. Play with, McDavid and Draisaitl, hopefully juice your numbers up and then sign a new deal. When we look at the deals that were done, does it make the re-signings that the Jets made through the regular season, does it change the way you look at them a little bit? Because I got to tell you, with some of the money that the defenders got right now, I think the Pionk situation probably looks pretty good. And I got to tell you, that Alex Iafallo deal to me, based on what actually went to market, probably a bit of good business. I mean, Vlad, Iafallo, Pionk, has what we've seen yesterday changed at all your thoughts about what was done during the season?
Maybe it reinforces some things, especially about those forwards. I think one of the areas where teams get into trouble cap-wise is when they overpay the middle class. And it's an opinion I will have for forever. Yeah, I think it's fine for a team to pay a Connor McDavid an enormous portion of the cap, or a Draisaitl or what have you, as long as they're the elite of the elite. And those two players are. I think where teams like that have gotten into problems over the years, prior to this nice Mangiapane type of deal, is overpaying middle class to the point where they don't have cap room left to address the other problems they have. And if you look at the Winnipeg Jets, extending Iafallo and Mesnikov, Niederreiter, as they've done, what they've done is they've gotten themselves solid cap-friendly deals in their middle class of player, that middle six and depth pieces. And that, were the Jets a UFA destination of choice, could have paid enormous dividends for them yesterday. At the trade deadline, it'll open up opportunity to ideally do something more like a Paul Stastny than get told by Brock Nelson that no, thank you. So, Winnipeg has traditionally been really good at cap management. I think part of that is genuine strength on the part of Larry Simmons and Kevin Cheveldayoff. I think part of that is missing out at UFA time as well. And then you can point to the deals like you just did where, listen, those players, if they hit the market right now, I mean, I don't know what they'd get paid. I wouldn't pay even Brandon Tanev the money that he got, or Mikhail Granlund the money that he got. There's players out there that will not deliver what those guys will for the Jets that got paid more than them yesterday.
First things first, they'll sign the RFAs. Belardi, Dylan Sandberg, Morgan Barron. What do you think the best road forward with the available cap space the Jets presumably will have that wasn't spent yesterday? Is it done before the season? Is that something that they keep in their back pocket as we go into the season, knowing that they can either take players off teams' hands or somehow weaponize it? I mean, how is the money that isn't spent best used? Is it spent on players before, or is it utilizing it as you go into the season, do you think?
For me, it kind of depends, because there's so much of it, or at least I'm anticipating that there will still be so much of it. It strikes me as something where the specific player and potential fit matters far more than the timing now. It's not you got to grind out the season, build up inches of cap space every single day, and then by trade deadline, you can finally wheel. For me, if the Winnipeg Jets can identify players that are maybe, I don't know, paid a bit too much for their current team's contentedness, but still deliver quality, that still actually make you better than who's the 13th forward right now, David Gustafsson or Tanner Pearson. If you can find those players today, that's a trade that would be worth making. If you can find them at camp for me, timing doesn't matter, because we've proven that if you leave it until the end, Brock Nelson might say no, and they're probably happy not to have to deal with that now. I guess I'm repeating myself now, but I think it's about them finding the fit and leaning on pro scouts, which is an easy out for me because I don't know who those players necessarily are at this stage.
Well, speaking of players that are still out there, I mean, I kind of mentioned those three guys that, would be sort of a little bit higher up. Is there any other player that is out there that you think the Jets might be in on, might be a good fit, or are we basically now to the post free agency period outside of an Ehlers announcement to make things official?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have not at any point been told or thought that Mason Appleton would be a returnee. I think that sort of at the price point that he's likely earned, I think the Jets are just kind of out on that. They had a good run with him, et cetera. But when you look at the free agents, you don't have to go that far down the list before you've got Mason Appleton's point totals. Like, he's not that far from the top, which is absolutely wild. And maybe something there, maybe the Jets circle back or Appleton doesn't find it. I don't know. So no, the answer is I don't know for a fact that they're in on anybody who's left, and we might be in a post free agency time. I just can't believe that they're done trying, even if they're not done succeeding.
Yeah, I know. Good point. Murat Atesh is with us from The Athletic. Murat, back to the blue line for a minute. Needless to say, there were no big blue line additions because the Jets right now have 9 players on one ways, and that's before we get to Elias Salmonson, who I think is certainly capable of getting some time on the blue line. How does this all shake out? Do you think a player gets moved at some point, whether it's even in training camp? Do they take a chance losing somebody on waivers? Do they carry 9 defensemen still with Elias at the Moose? How do you see this shaking out?
Yeah, great question. I don't think it's their plan to move Luke Shen, by the way. Like, that's been one of the theories. Hey, maybe move him. I've seen that sort of speculated around. As far as I'm aware, that's actually definitely not the plan. They valued him and they want him back. Beyond that, like, I know that at times over the years, they floated Logan Stanley, didn't get substantial interest in terms of assets. And I think he's part of the cultural hub in some ways. I think they floated Ville Heinola in the same way, not getting sufficient returns. So I'm expecting more of the same. Like, I'm not expecting the Jets to be able to package these guys as part of something that returns anything satisfying. And so maybe, yeah, I guess as I sit today, I think that they'll run a really deep roster of depth defensemen at training camp. And maybe that does mean losing people to waivers, but we know the Jets have been willing to risk that before. They've lost Jonathan Kovacevic, they've lost Declan Chisholm. And if you were one of the fans that said, oh my goodness, I can't believe they waived those guys and not Logan Stanley because he takes a lot of heat, right? Well, what if they end up waiving him? Is that okay now? Like, I think maybe the way I would put it is none of us thought that the right situation of injuries and absences could make Hayden Fleury a regular player heading into last year's camp. So leave room for surprises. Having a lot of defensemen isn't a bad thing, although it does keep Elias Salomonsson kind of unlikely to make the team.
Hey, it's pretty clear, Morrissey DeMello, Samberg Pionk. who's the 5-6 guys right now? I mean, if you had to handicap like for the home opener next year, all things being equal, with the 9 guys that we have here.
And I like to think they got their best results from Fleury and Miller on the third pair. I think they're the standard bearers in terms of just what they bring versus what they give up. But if you're asking me what I think the Jets will do, I have to think that one of Stanley or
Billy?
I was going to say Stanley or Shen on account of their physicality.
I see in the lineup. Yeah.
Yeah. My brain freeze was because I told you earlier that I think it's between the Canes and Tampa Bay Lightning. And now I got somebody saying, well, hey, Washington might still be in there. So I really think that I think that those 3 are the teams to circle right now.
Well, quite the battle. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like the Jets are in on it, and that will be a disappointing pill to swallow for a lot of Winnipeg Jet fans. Just quick thought.
Appleton just signed with the Red Wings. Puckpedia's got this one. 2-year, $2.9 million cap hit.
Okay, so AAV of 1.45?
No. The cat. Sorry, 2.9 AAV.
Wow, he almost got $3 million?
Yes, here it is.
Oh, good for Good for Mason. Good for Mason. I mean, this is a guy came in as a 6th round pick. I know for whatever reason, I mean, it seems like our fan base just moves on from one guy to one guy as whoever is the guy that they're really bent out of shape about. But Murat, this is a guy that came in, had an unbelievable year in the American Hockey League, earned a spot in the lineup, became a really reliable player. And let's face it, I mean, there's a lot of talk about what that Lowry line did over the last couple of years. I mean, there's a reason why they played as much as they did. They were really effective. Would you have loved him to score a little bit more? And obviously, the Game 6 open net will be recent for a lot of people. But I had a lot of time for Mason Appleton, what he did while he was here in Winnipeg, his contribution to that line. And good on him for getting a pretty nice deal that, to be honest, I didn't think was going to be out there.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, I like Mason Appleton, and our interactions were always thoughtful. Like he's a hockey nerd, and that's great. I think he was the 3rd most effective member of that line, but a key part of it. So I guess what I would say is it doesn't make sense. It doesn't surprise me that he got close to Niederreiter and Lowry's salary without going over, right? Like at 2.9, he falls under Lowry's 3.25 and under Niederreiter's is at 4. And I think that might be fair market value for what Mason Appleton brought. I do think the Jets were kind of outdone paying that type of money for that player because Niederreiter and Lowry maybe are the more important cogs of that trio. At the same time, he did impress multiple coaching staffs, right? Like certain meat and potatoes moments of eating a hit to get the puck out, coordinate a breakout, get in on the forecheck, those types of things. He won jobs multiple seasons under multiple coaches, and I guess his tenacity should be celebrated in that regard. And again, yeah, I think the Jets are probably happy not to be the ones paying him 2.9 and just using their cap dollars somewhere else.
Well, exactly. And I mean, again, it just goes back to, what you have to pay on the 1st of July or the 2nd of July to get players. And I wasn't there. Anything really stand out to you in a positive way out around the league from yesterday? I mean, was there a player or two that you signed a good bit of business from the teams at all?
I mean, geez. I will continue to say that I like Andrew Mangiapane at that price a lot. People point to, his point totals went down. I think the Capitals balanced their top 9. I think he was a 2nd-line player in Calgary and a 3rd-line player in Washington, and it's not because he forgot how to score. I look at chance generation. I look at forechecks won, pucks recovered, and I think he did a lot of those things and did them really well. So I think that he'll be a completely solid middle 6 piece for the Edmonton Oilers, who need more of that if they're going to go and ever sort of get over the hump that they're trying to get past. I had an argument with somebody yesterday where they were like, I cannot believe Keandre Miller got, was it 7 from Carolina? And I thought to myself, geez, like the Hurricanes are under tremendous pressure to spend money. Like they're supposed to be in on guys. They had a ton of cap space, and I don't think they're spending it just to spend it. But at his age range and with the cap going up, I think that might be one of those deals that looks bad today, and then 3 years from now, people ask, how did they ever get that guy at that price? And then beyond that, like, I'm sure I'm forgetting a million things, but all I want to say is that Mikael Granlund isn't a $7 million player in my eyes, and if Winnipeg missed out on that, I think they'll be just fine with it.
Well, I tell you what, there'll be a lot of time for us to kind of kick around where things are at with this club, because I'm not sure things are going to change significantly over the course of the next few weeks. But as you mentioned, I mean, maybe they do move to a trade route. We talked about Brett and Russ last week on the program, but plenty of time to do that. I know you've got texts coming in as we stay on Ehlers watch. So, Murat, we'll let you go. Just fill people in on what's cooking at the Athletic as we come out of the free agent frenzy, if we can even call it that this year.
Yeah, my latest is a review of the Jets free agency not status so far. Yeah, what is the word if it's not frenzy? It's definitely not that. The next up, we're going to start getting into projecting the opening night roster and what some of those camp battles are really going to look like. Who's genuinely going to have a chance to make the roster? What about these 5 AHL two-way guys that they signed? Can any of them play a role? And just start to get things a little bit more clear, because barring surprises, we know most of the Winnipeg Jets training camp roster for this year at least.
Murat, thanks so much. We'll let you get back to the phone, and we're all just sitting here waiting for bad news, which is not a great feeling, but here we are today on the 2nd of July. Thanks for doing this, pal, and a belated Happy Canada Day to you.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, there is Murat Atesh of the Athletic. Interesting, Washington potentially in on Nikolai Ehlers. Tampa, that is a wild possibility. And then, of course, Carolina, who we've been hearing all along. But again, until it's done, it's not done. And stranger things have happened, but I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, because I think mine have officially left the building. Hey, let me give a shout out to our friends at Royal Sports. The one guy we do know is here is Jonathan Toews. He's getting introduced on Friday to the Winnipeg media and to the city in a bit of a homecoming. The Toews jerseys are already flying off the shelves at Royal Sports, your number one spot for Jets and Bomber fan gear. You can head on down and be the first person in your group to have a Toews 19. You can also get some great stuff supporting the Bombers, as we'll be back at the Princess Auto Stadium in the middle of July for another Bomber game. And while we're talking summer, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, tons of bikes, a massive Yeti cooler section, tons of cool stuff on the Kings Skate, Snow, and Surf side. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Of course, we got big CFL game tomorrow night with the Bombers and Stamps. Best place to get together with your gang for that one is your local Boston Pizza. Brand new summer menu in full effect right now. And of course, the game on all the big screens with big sound, ice cold schooners. And hey, you can take advantage of BP Appy Hour as well. As with the 8 o'clock start, we'll be getting into that at 9 p.m. Boston Pizza, and of course, hey, you want to get it hot and fresh to your door? You can always order online over at bostonpizza.com. We're going to talk some Bombers for a few minutes with Taylor Allen. We got some good news on Brady Oliveira. Right now, though, let's give a big shout out to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we're going to hook up with Taylor Allen in just a minute. You know what? I'll put this out to you right now. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Is there any team that Nikolai Ehlers would sign with, especially for you big Ehlers fans, that would turn you against him, if you will? It would take a lot for me. I mean, if he showed up in Minnesota, I'd be pretty pissed. The Colorado thing kind of churns my stomach a little bit, as I mentioned. That would be pretty ugly. I mean, the teams that are in the mix, all in the East, I think I'd be fine with. But let us know in that. We've got lots in fan feedback right now, especially just coming out of the Appleton signing. Of course, fan feedback's brought to you by fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Go-to spot for Jet fans, both buying and selling. And now, Winnipeg Blue Bomber tickets also on Fans First, which has been nice because of how difficult it has been at times to grab seats on game days for Bomber games with 7 straight sellouts. No fees. What you see is what you pay. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. You know what? Lots of people wishing Nathan Appleton well. Darth Skater, Rene Dandido, a Chris Jets fan, Tracy O, good for apples, happy for apps. Bugard fan, that is such a Detroit signing. Well, let's see what up here. A little bit of a shot at Steve Yzerman. And then, yeah, the Yzer plan is really beginning to shape up nicely. And then good luck apps, go play with Cop. And then, I mean, for me, I thought, and then there was rumors of an Appleton extension through last year. I really thought that the writing was on the wall the second Alex Iafallo re-upped. So I just think Iafallo is just a level up from Appleton, and certainly was able to take advantage of the opportunities that were given him higher up in the lineup when it happened a little bit more. And Waiters, great one. Appleton gone. Now who are we going to obsessively crap on all season? Keep in mind, it never happened like the entire time he was here. It was just that when the Logan Stanley noise died down and he wasn't in the lineup, then people had to go pick a new guy. So now Appleton's gone. Now who is the guy? I guess we'll find out next year. It'd be nice if that wasn't always the case, but unfortunately that seems to be the way things go. You can keep your thoughts coming in the chat, fan feedback. Here's a very weird one from Ed from Winnipeg, who said Appleton's attitude was suboptimal. No idea where you get that one. I thought Appleton, great teammate. I mean, a guy that they all loved and did everything that was asked of him. Just, maybe not at the level that a lot of people would have liked for the ice time that Lowry line got. But I will point out the fact that line played a ton. That team won a lot of hockey games, and like it or not, he was a part of it. And I do wonder how different everyone would think about Mason Appleton if he just buried that open net in Game 6. Maybe everything is different. All right, we're gonna bring in Taylor Allen, I believe, in just a minute. Just having a tough time. What are we figuring out how we can get to see Taylor? Is that our issue right now?
Yeah, he's just working on his camera here, so we may just come in with his phone in a sec. He's at Bombers practice in Calgary. Not enough being made about the Stampede Bowl. Brett Michaels at halftime. There's a trophy to the winner. What am I doing here? I should be at the Stampede Bowl taking in this Bomber game. Actually, if you want to see the Bombers, it's 90s night for their next game, July 18, against the same Calgary Stampeders. 1,500 tickets left. Make it 8 straight sellouts. I'm sure it will be, but this is your last call here. 90s night. So it says, break out the windbreakers, dig up your Walkman, get ready to party on, July 18, 1,500 tickets left.
What a wild time we're at.
The Bombers
right
are good.
Blue Bomber history.
It's crazy.
The Bombers aren't just good. the Bombers are they're the standard in the Canadian Football League right now. Off the field and on the field, they continue to win and they continue to be a Grey Cup contender each and every season. As I said, the big news is that Brady Oliveira is back. And, Remo, his team's at 3-0. Brady's had 2 carries on the season. It's been tough for him to be out of the lineup the last few games. And watching his team, as well as guys, professional football is a very cutthroat league and occupation. There's always guys coming for your job and your opportunities. Now, Brady's in no possibility of losing that right now, but I got to tell you, I think he is going to look very similar to the guy that looked possessed in those first couple carries of the season against BC in the home opener.
Yeah, someone who had him in my DraftKings and took the over. Yeah, he was. He was looking pretty good for those 2 carries, the longest one of his career. And Matthew Paterson has come in, and I think he played well in that game. His second game, not as strong. And I think the first half of the last game, not great. But when they needed to run the ball to finish the game off, the run game certainly came through. So Brady Oliveira, he's the MOP. I'm curious with Jason Hogan, how are they going to use him, passing to him out of the backfield? Obviously, a lot of criticism of the game plan in the Grey Cup, and we've seen some more, Zach Claros throwing deep to anyone, anywhere, anytime. So Calgary, they had the bye last week. The Bombers played Thursdays. They do have the full week off, unlike last week when they played at home, coming off a Saturday game. So you mentioned Bombers, 3.5 point favorites, started off 2.5, so they're expected to win. But Calgary at 2-1, they have Vernon Adams at quarterback. Have they turned things around? So this is a big game for them too.
Well, let's talk about it. Taylor Allen's going to join us right now. The segment brought to you by Ben Moss, proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 Ben Moss locations in Winnipeg for you. Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Ben Moss is committed to customer satisfaction. Check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, shine bright. We'll see if the Bombers can shine bright and get to 4-0 tomorrow in Calgary, which is where we go to hook up with Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press. Taylor, what's going on? Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you bet. Sorry for hopping on a little late. I was just at Stamps walkthrough day, and I was waiting to speak to Adam Bighill, of course. I mean, sadly, he's not playing. Tomorrow he's still rehabbing from his ACL tear from last year, but he stayed over an hour after walkthrough ended just doing on-field work and stuff. So clearly that's a guy who's very motivated to get back. And, again, he's not playing tomorrow, but the Bombers and Stamps are meeting each other 3 times in these next 5 weeks. So Bomber fans and the blue and gold will get to see Adam Bighill pretty soon.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he wasn't in that game here in Winnipeg in a couple weeks. But, just listen, before we get to the guys that are on the field tomorrow, what did Biggie have to say? Such a historic member of this team, did so many things for Winnipeg after coming here, making it his home. And obviously, he didn't feel like he was done yet, even if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers maybe did.
Yeah, so I asked him, off the hop, I'm like, man, you've accomplished everything and then some that there is to accomplish in the CFL. A 3-time most outstanding defensive player, 3-time Grey Cup champion, I think a 6-time CFL All-Star, just one of the most respected players really in CFL history. And, coming off of an ACL injury, that's hard to bounce back from at any age. Never mind, I think he's 36, 37 now. And so I asked him, what's motivating you to come back? Why go through this, especially now in a different city when, your family is living in Winnipeg still? And he said, honestly, I just love the game still. I'm not ready to stop playing. And I still think I could be a good football player once I'm done rehabbing. So, you go on social media, you see a lot of people that have kind of written Adam Bighill off. And no, I don't think he's going to be a most outstanding defensive player type of caliber guy anymore. But any team that could bring a guy like that with that experience not only that, just like his wealth of information and knowledge that he has on the game. Like, you talk to anyone in the league about Adam Bickel, and the first thing they talk about how smart of a guy he is. And, you know, just covering him for these past 5 years or whatever it's been, I've learned a ton about the CFL and football just from getting to talk to him almost every week. So, yeah, the guy loves the game. You know, I think a lot of Bomber fans were hoping that maybe he would just join the coaching staff for the Bombers this year. And he said, like, no, that's not something that really interests him even in the future. He said, I want to coach my kids, but coaching in the pros, you know, probably doesn't see that in the cards, but you never know. But yeah, he's focused on getting healthy, getting back, and he thinks this Calgary Stampeders team is a team that could, you know, maybe surprise some people and win a Grey Cup.
Yeah, I'm sure there's also an element of, you know, a Biggie not wanting to go out the way that he did with the injury last year. And the guy's such a notoriously insane worker that, you know, he's working to get back and wants to show that he can get back. And listen, I think everyone in Bomberville wishes him well. Maybe just accept the head-to-head matchups against the Winnipeg Football Club. Speaking of coming back from injuries, Brady Oliveira back on the depth chart. You know, knocked out early in the first game of the season after an incredible 43-yard run. He's had to watch his backups eat while he's been on the sidelines. What have you heard from Brady this week, and what do we expect from the former MOP as we get into the action to kick off Week 5 tomorrow night?
Yeah, he's fully ready to go. He's been at practice all week as a full participant for the most part. And, you know, I just saw him briefly in the locker room yesterday. And I just kind of looked at him and said, like, hey, man, like, you feeling good? And he had the biggest smile on his face. He's like, oh, yeah. So, like, he is ready to go. Like, it's been torture for him, you know, coming off of this MOP season to get hurt in the first quarter of the opening game and then have to sit and watch these past 2 weeks. I mean, luckily for him, it's been a bit easier to watch, knowing the team did win all the games. But, I mean, you watched that Edmonton game last week, and the story was Zach Collaros, just how brilliant of a performance he had. But, I mean, really, those first 3 quarters, though, the Bombers' running attack was non-existent. Like, they couldn't get anything going on the ground. I mean, sure, Matthew Paterson, you know, he did a good job of closing things out in the fourth quarter. But despite the fact that the Bombers won and overall played a pretty good game, I think last week really showed, like, okay, you know, maybe you could survive a few weeks without your superstar running back and Brady Oliveira. But just moving ahead, though, like, you can't expect Zach to go 25 for 30 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and finish it off with a crazy highlight reel 13-yard touchdown scramble every game. Like, you really do. This is a team that, you know, they pride themselves on running the game, or running the ball. Sorry. So, yeah, they're obviously very stoked to have Brady back, and yeah, I'd expect him to have his usual workload tomorrow in Calgary.
It's nice to get Brady back at the same time that the team overall pretty healthy. I mean, you know, Mike Benson, the long snapper, still out right now. They're waiting on Peyton Logan, but for the most part, this team's going to be going in pretty close to full health now with the big guy back in the backfield.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think tomorrow's going to be a great test for this team. I mean, you know, their opener was a good test, too, against the Lions and Nathan Rourke. But then, you know, he missed the following game. So they played a backup in Jeremiah Mazzoli, who, I mean, let's be honest, his best football days are behind him. And then, you know, they played Edmonton last week, who I think they're going to be a little better this year, but they're still working out some things with a new head coach and whatnot. So this Calgary team has been kind of a bit of a surprise. And I mean, they haven't played anyone in the West yet. They've only played teams out East, but they're 2-1. Vernon Adams has breathed, you know, some life into this organization after some pretty lean years. You know, no offense to Jake Mayer. I mean, he flashed some things here and there, but yeah, it's been pretty tough for the Stamps these past few years. So yeah, this is going to be, you know, the biggest test I'd say that the Bombers have had so far, and definitely for Calgary as well.
Hey, just checking the and listen, I didn't expect any real changes to the lineup based on the way the teams played, especially on the offensive side of the football. But is Dylan Mitchell still kicking around? I mean, what is his status? And is there any way for him to get into the lineup other than due to the misfortune of one of his teammates?
Honestly, I did not think this would be a conversation that we'd be having when he got signed in the offseason. It sounded like, oh, okay, like, you know, can't really replace a guy like Kenny Lawler and whatnot, but like a guy like Dylan Mitchell, that's a pretty solid guy to bring in to attempt to do that. But training camp was rough. Like it was not pretty. I mean, he got a little better towards the end, but he just hasn't really found his footing with this team. So, I mean, I believe they paid him, I think it was around $50,000 was the signing bonus that he had right off the hop. So it's obviously not ideal to cut a guy when you've already, given him a decent chunk of guaranteed money. So yeah, unless some guys get hurt or some guys start really struggling, I really don't see him getting on the field anytime soon. And that's a good thing for the Bombers because, I mean, Carrick Wheatfall, he's been probably the breakout star for the Bombers this year. We only saw him play, I think, 6 or 7 games last year, and he had one really, really good game at home. Then he got hurt, and then we kind of didn't really see much of him after that. But, like, his confidence is sky high, and I was talking to him the other week, and he's like, yeah, we lost Kenny, but like I could be that guy for this team. Like he is a very confident guy, but so far he's backing it up. And yeah, him, Dalton Schoen, Nick Dembski. I mean, that's a pretty solid trio for Zach Claris to work with.
Well, and you know what? The other guy that I think has been sneaky good when leaned upon is Jarrett Stearns. And Stearns in practice, I mean, Josh was talking to us about him, throughout training camp, and we've seen far as those sneaky underneath routes, basically when it's been thrown to him, he's caught it. And that sort of reliability, it seems like, is what they're looking for in that position. And in the meantime, I mean, with the breakout performance of Wheatfall, with Claircy seeming to come into his own and the other guys that are really established in the lineup, it's a tough unit to crack right now, even if you got $50K in the preseason.
Totally. And again, this week's going to be a good test for them because, I mean, the Calgary Stampeders have only given up one pass for over 20 yards so far in 3 games. Like they have, one of the best secondaries in the league right now, and their red zone defense is the best in the league. Teams have only gone into the Calgary red zone 5 times so far this year, and only 2 of those drives ended in touchdowns. So yeah, this Bombers offense looked amazing last week against Edmonton, but this is going to be a much stiffer test against Calgary. And then the fact, too, that Calgary's coming off of a bye. It's kind of weird. They're only actually, I think, 2-6 off of a bye since 2022. So that's not really a great stat. But, I mean, hey, maybe they'll turn it around now. We'll see. And then tomorrow's the Stampede Bowl, a brand new thing that they started. There's going to be a piece of hardware on the line, and I was talking to their PR staff today, and they couldn't give me an official number of how many tickets have been sold, but they're expecting a good turnout. There's already been a few sections that are sold out as well. So, yeah, for years and years and years, it felt like every time the Bombers went to McMahon Stadium, it was almost an automatic loss. But, I mean, they've obviously have cracked that code since, and I kind of started in 2019, and now they've won. Winnipeg has won three of their last 4 games in Calgary, but again, this is a different Calgary team. I didn't think they'd take that big of a step this year, but so far it looks like they have. And yeah, so we're going to learn a lot about this Bombers offense and everyone really tomorrow.
Do we know this Stampede Bowl? Is it just going to be like whoever the Stamps are hosting Stampede Week, or are they looking to sort of start like? This isn't a unique Winnipeg Calgary thing as much as it's a Calgary Stampede Week thing, and the Bombers get the first crack at the trophy.
Totally. So this is actually like the first time the Stampeders have been home right before the Calgary Stampede. Like they've played at home on the Monday of the Stampede week that starts on the Friday or the Wednesday, but they've never played like on the eve of the Calgary Stampede, which is crazy. I never would have thought that, but apparently that's the case. So what I've been told is that they're going to try this for 3 years. And if it's a smashing success, then obviously they'll keep it going. But it's not going to be as far as I know, it's not going to be the Bombers every year. They just so happen to be in town at this time, and they're going to be part of the first one, which is cool. And I was talking to lots of the guys yesterday about the Stampede Bowl. Not that anyone really knows not that anyone really knew what it was or whatever, but like they're pretty jacked up just for to add a little flavor to the game and whatnot. So I love it. I mean, no, the trophy doesn't really mean anything, but like if that gets this game more media attention, which, let's be honest, a market like Calgary needs, or really every market except for Winnipeg and Saskatchewan needs, and gets more butts in the seats, more people talking about the CFL and whatever, then perfect. Let's do it.
The trophy's nice. Remis just pulled up the picture of it. I think I heard that they got the people that did the Four Nations trophy to make that. So good on them for spending some money and putting something great together. And yeah, listen, it just makes too much sense to try to connect into the excitement of Stampede, such a big week, and have the Stamps play a part of it. And hopefully it'll be a good one tomorrow. Last one for you. Vernon Adams still doesn't have a touchdown on the season, passing touchdown. I've been so impressed with Bonds so far. Malik Bridges. I mean, obviously Evan Holm, Jamal Parker's been a monster so far this year. Basically just keep on doing what they're doing right now. And they did go against Trey Ford last week, who did not run at all. They did a very good job at keeping him in check. Vernon Adams has burned them a few times in the past with his feet. Do you foresee a very similar game plan from Jordan Younger in the defensive unit, going from the Elks off a bye last week to the Stamps off a bye this week?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they kind of are. Trey Ford and Vernon Adams, there's definitely some similarities there, but like Vernon Adams is definitely a more seasoned passer and he's had a lot more success in this league. So he's definitely, going to be a stiffer challenge. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. He's played 3 games, hasn't thrown a touchdown pass yet, but he has led 6 touchdown drives. So that's, I mean, other than fantasy football, I mean, that's more important, of course. But yeah, it's kind of weird he hasn't thrown one into the end zone yet. But I mean, their last game they played against Ottawa at home, and the weather was just horrendous. Like him and Dustin Crum, no one could throw the ball in that weather. So maybe we'll give them a pass for that one. But yeah, this Stampeders offense, like I think they're leading the league in rushing yards right now at 135 yards per game. So they do a lot of damage. Vernon and Dedrick Mills on the ground. But yeah, like this is the top 2 defenses in the league are playing tomorrow, stats wise at least. So yeah, I mean the Bombers secondary were brilliant. Really, the whole defense was. I mean, holding Trey Ford last week just 9 rushing yards. It's hard to beat that. So yeah, we'll see what Vernon Adams can do. But again, they haven't played anyone in the West yet. So I've been kind of hyping Calgary a lot, but they haven't played any West opponents yet. They beat up on Toronto without Chad Kelly, and then they beat up on Hamilton as well, and then they lost to Dustin Crum in Ottawa. So I don't know. Maybe the hype isn't there for Calgary just yet. But yeah, we'll see how they can fare tomorrow.
Well, they're moving up a weight class or 2, taking on the Bombers tomorrow. Bombers over at Coolbet right now, 3.5-point favorites. We'll get to that in the Coolbet lines in just a minute with our pal Pat Gregoire. Taylor, great stuff. Thanks so much. Yes, full game preview in tomorrow's Winnipeg Free Press, and then full coverage from Calgary on Friday morning.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for doing this. Enjoy the game in your timeout. Don't have too much fun in Stampede-related activities. Big work day tomorrow, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here in the Peg.
Hey, Huss, I was here in Calgary for a bachelor party 2 weeks ago, so I've already, helped the Alberta liquor sales enough for this year. So this is just purely work trip, no fun allowed. So yeah, I'll do my best. You're gonna say,
I've scouted out all the spots. I've got a I've got a full slot to go. Hey, listen, thanks for doing this, dude. I can't wait for the game tomorrow. We'll looking forward to it, and of course, all your coverage along with the Free team at the Winnipeg Free Press.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Good stuff. There's Taylor Allen joining us on the program from Cowtown. We'll wait till tomorrow for Bomber football. You don't have to wait till tomorrow for Gold Eyes baseball. Big Canada Day win yesterday at the ballpark. They're back at it tonight, continuing their series. 6:30 first pitch, 982 base, goldeyes.com for tickets. Great night with this gorgeous weather to get out to a Blue Cross Park if you weren't able to make it down for that 4 o'clock Canada Day game yesterday. Patty and I are going to be talking golf in just a minute. Do want to mention to you that our friends at Breezy Bend hosting the Manitoba Open this year. Lots to happen. They are looking... if you go to manitobaopen.com, you can see still some sponsorship opportunities available. If you'd like to volunteer, they still need a few volunteers. Obviously, ticket information. There's also information on how you can get into the incredible Pro-Am. This is probably the most exclusive and incredible golf tournament of the year for people like us that aren't pros. You'll have the opportunity to play with 2 pros from the PGA Tour Americas, guys like JJ Spawn and Taylor Pendrith and Mac Hughes that have all been through and said this before. He'll be with one on the front nine and one on the back nine. Now, it is not cheap. It's $4,000 for 4 players, so basically $1,000 a head. But everyone is getting a tailor-made Spider putter valued at almost $500. You also get 18 holes of golf, shared cart, 2 meals, one before, one after the round. Many of you will like the sound of this. Unlimited on-course beverages as part of the event, and of course some great individual and team prizes. So there's limited availability. If you want to get a team in the Pro-Am, go to ManitobaOpen.com and jump on that as well. Of course, they're back at the track tonight. Remis and I will look and get into our picks a little bit later on, but right now let's welcome in Pat Gregoire for our Wednesday visit, which is quickly becoming must watch. Set your bookmarks for about 10 to 3 on Wednesdays, because 3 of the last 4 weeks, the 2 of us have put together winners. Patty with Ryan Fox at the RBC. We both were on Keegan Bradley at as good as 40-1 last week, but Patty took the cake at all-time new high water mark. Aldrich, point getter, wins the Rocket Classic. And it was Pat Gregoire who said, if you're looking for a long shot, how about this guy at 150-1? Come on in for your victory lap, Patty G. Wow. We did it again. And listen, the bar has been raised. I don't know whether we're going to find any 170s or 200s later on this year, but that was an all-timer. And you had to sweat it out big time going to a playoff. Oh, man.
Well, that's the thing, how many playoffs have we had over the last 4 weeks? I think we've had 4 straight playoffs. This is what it's all about with the PGA Tour. It's amazing if you're nestled in to your couch and are watching some stress-free golf. But when you've got money on it, like we have had the last 4 weeks, it has been so stressful and it has been a major sweat. But when it all comes through, when all things are said and done, I don't know. This is my Pablo Picasso. I don't think I'm going to ever get anything better than 151 on a 20-year-old South African getting his first win on tour. And it was a throw-in. I had my other picks, but I really liked this one. And I said, you know what? If you want a long bomb, here is a couple here. And Puckheiter had to be the one. He ended up being the first-round leader as well. But still, even though he was considered technically a wire-to-wire winner, it was a sweaty 151 cash.
Yeah, no doubt. Ironically, the only one that wasn't a playoff in the last 4 weeks was the previous week with Keegan, which we were hoping on the 18th that he could get into a playoff, and your boy Tommy Ladd went right, and a birdie bogey finished, and there was no playoff, and Keegan won. Listen, just before we get to our picks, because of the holiday yesterday, gang, we did CFL 110 this morning. Thanks to everyone that joined us live. It was great to see everyone that was there. But if you haven't checked it already, you can cop it as soon as we're done. Winnipeg Sports Talk, the latest on all the games and everything happening in the league with myself and Jeff Hamilton. Also brought to you by our friends at Coolbet. Now, the Hammer and I have put together a CFL parlay. I'll just give you a quick update on where the lines are right now at Coolbet. Bombers are still 3.5-point favorites in this game tomorrow night to kick off the week in the Stampede Bowl. Minus 185 on the money line for the Bombers, plus 150 for Calgary. Calgary 3.5-point home dogs. The Ticats Argos game is a pick 'em. Minus 112 for the Ticats, minus 108 for the Argos. You can bet it at a point, but it is basically a pick 'em right now. So whoever you think's going to win, I think I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback in this one. I'll give Bo Levi the nod on that one. And I know there'll be a bunch of tabby crazies from Steeltown making the trip up to invade BMO for that one. Still waiting on starting quarterbacks. Nathan Rourke likely. Right now, Montreal's a 3.5-point favorite at home. MBT did not look good last week at all against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So I think if it's MBT and Nathan Rourke and the number is anything like 3.5 or better for BC, I'll be on BC. We kept that one out of the CFL 110 parlay, though. And then we've got the Red Blacks and the Elks. Now, the Elks number's gone up a little bit today with the news that Drew Brown's been taking first-team reps at practice. So we'll see. I still do like Edmonton to get their first win of the year. So if you go to the combo cards right now, first thing up beside the PME Weekly Boost is the CFL 110 parlay. We're taking the Bombers -3.5, and we're taking Hamilton and Edmonton to win. We got a nice boost on that too. If we did that ourselves, just put it in, it's plus 692. If you jump on the CFL 110 parlay, plus 794. So right around 8-1. That is up and will be up until kickoff tomorrow night between the Bombers and the Calgary Stampeders.
I want to, before we get off the combo cards here, if you do scroll over, I think we might have a new reoccurring combo card for Winnipeg Sports Talk. I put this one together. Feathers and Fins. Blue Jays to win and Gold Eyes to win.
Yes!
Right now, plus 257, boosted all the way up to 296. So I think that's going to be a reoccurring bet that we have in the combo cards, the Feathers and Fins parlay.
I love it. I love it. Both teams coming off big wins yesterday. And Patty, just before we got to the golf, I mean, I know Jake was prepared not to watch the Jays this year. Maybe that's all the Jays needed to turn into an awesome team again. They're one game out of first right now after beating the Yankees again. Listen, I know everyone was probably fretting over Mitch Marner yesterday in the GTA and all that, but Jays are back, and I got to tell you, it is fun watching this team right now, and a lot of people had written them off before the season, so the fact that they're cruising the way they are right now makes it, I think, even more exciting.
Man, this guy is not coming home from Peru. I'll tell you that much. I am suspending him. I will extend his stay to the playoffs. But the Jays have been red hot ever since he's left. He will probably have a little bit of credit here. Things did turn around before he did leave, but it feels like the vibes around the team have completely changed since he's left, which I'm saying a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, I do kind of believe this. But they are different. They feel different. George Springer with a massive grand slam yesterday to secure the victory. He's having one of his best seasons as a Toronto Blue Jay. And you even look at guys like Bo Bichette and Vladdy Guerrero Jr., they're having solid seasons, but this season's not carried on the backs of them. We're seeing other cast of characters coming up in the clutch. The emergence of Addison Barger has been great to see. Ernie Clement has been great. Alejandro Kirk is having a great season. I think we're now getting into a point where it's like, okay, where does this Blue Jays team improve at the deadline? I would love to see them add another starting pitcher into the rotation. I know it's great to see Scherzer back. He still doesn't seem like he's 100% by any stretch of the imagination. But this is, I think also I'm going to be a bit of a realist here, and this is a good thing, though. The American League, and especially the AL East, I don't think has ever been this poor before, or this meh. I don't want to say bad, but meh. I think this is a big opportunity for the Blue Jays to go out there and win this division and possibly go on a run, because when I look at who is out there in the AL right now, there's not a lot of teams that scare me. The NL is a completely different ball game, but I think with a couple of moves at the deadline, this Blue Jays team can be legit. And hand up, I was on Jake's side as well. I was not believing in this team. I was not believing in the team. But, we're almost at the All-Star break here, and I really do feel like this is a big opportunity for the Blue Jays to do something special here.
No, it absolutely is. And I'm just looking at this. Minus 105, over 78.5 wins. Who believed in the Blue Jays, Patty? I did, and I'm loving this right now. And the Feathers and Fins, though, all in. Fish are a pretty big favorite. Like, I've been following these gold eye lines all year, and just again, if you missed it, Coolbet in the left margin, you'll see Winnipeg Gold Eyes. The Gold Eyes games are up. We did get that incredible win in person at the ballpark in the 8-7 win on WST night, which was nice to win one in person. But Gold Eyes minus 143 tonight. The Jays with Barrios on the hill, a plus 110, a home dog, looking to get the sweep. So I'm in on Feathers and Fins for tonight. All right, Patty, it's the main event. We continue to raise the bar with these picks. I don't know whether we're going to find 150 to 1 out there, but the John Deere, and this is a tournament that traditionally has a very weak field, if you want to call PGA Tour golfers at all weak. My guy, Ben Griffin, is the favorite at 14 to 1. He's the only player with odds lower than 20. We've got Jason Day at 22, Danny McCarthy at 25, your guy, Michael Thorbjornsen, at 28, and then a big group of guys at 32 or 33, including the likes of Sung J M, Luke Clanton, Gerard, Lucas Glover, Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, who was right there at the end last week, Jake Knapp as well, and then 40s, including, could we see Potgieter go back-to-back? We'll see. A couple of odds that just sort of stand out to me when you look at, just how broad this group, the group is. Kashmir Keith, 50 to 1. I would have expected him to maybe be in the 40 or 33 group. And it speaks to how the season's going for our guy, Tom Kim, that he's 70 to 1 in the John Deere. No disrespect to everybody, but I will turn it over to you to begin the way, considering the hot hand that you have had with these picks. Who you got?
I hate to say it, Huss. I might have to maybe tweet something out, look out further down the board and just run it back. But to me personally, I don't see anything out there. And just the chances of another 150, 125, 101 is very unlikely. And when you look over the last few years, a lot of these golfers, actually the last 4, have come from the 20 to about 50 to 1 range when it comes to the John Deere. It's definitely not as long as, of course, as we saw last week. You definitely need to be more accurate off the tee, but I do feel like the two main factors, or few main factors, that go into this, it definitely is, of course, where you have to be accurate off the tee. It also very much favors birdie makers, bogey avoidance, strong approach for 100 to 150 yards. And then, of course, in a lot of these tournaments, we call them birdie fests, you got to have the capability to catch fire with your putter. So I'm going to run it back with my first pick. Last week, Michael Thorbjornsen, 28 to 1. You mentioned it. He was right in the mix. He was leading at some points on Sunday, clubhouse leader at one point. But again, to not my chagrin, I was quite happy he didn't cash that ticket because the payout was much bigger on Potgieter. So I'll go with Thorbjornsen this week, 28 to 1. He has great course history here. And you might be wondering, how does this guy have course history? He's just been on the tour for a year and a half. Well, he finished T17 as an amateur here back in 2023. And then early in his career, he finished up runner-up last year here as well. He's got great recent form as well, coming off that T4, just a stroke just outside of finishing into that playoff. But he's averaging 66.3 strokes per round at TPC Deer Run since 2011. The only one who has a better average is David Thompson, who won it last year, and he's only at 66.1. So virtually almost the exact same score. So give me Thorby, 28 to 1. Another guy that's been sniffing around our cards over the years here, but hasn't been able to get it done and has had some crushing defeats, Denny McCarthy, 25 to 1. He has some great history at this golf course as well. T7, T6, and T3 in his last 3 years here. And he also was pretty good in Detroit last week as well, finishing at T12. Overall for the year, I was not aware of this stat. He is 16 for 16 on cuts made. 16 for 60. He has not missed a cut. So he obviously had to be on my cut parlay this week. But he's also finished with 8 top 25 finishes, and he's 9th in strokes gained putter on tour. So I had to go with him as well. And I'll round this one up, and I won't take credit here. This was all Pat Mayo listening to his shows, following his tweets. If you're not doing it already, you're doing yourself a disservice. Lee Hodges, 80-1 earlier this week. He's now all the way down to 66-1. I got him at 80-1 before it moved, but even at 66-1, I think his game and the way it lends to this golf course just doesn't really make sense because he is such an accurate driver. He has a great iron game. And again, this is a weaker field, and he's kind of showed some pop in some better fields. He finished inside the top 10 in Canada just last month. So I think Hodges at this price here makes too much sense. I would love to take him on a top 10 or a top 20 as well. And he actually does find himself on my card for the Greggy's Golf Special.
I'm going to ride with you. I watched quite a bit of Theodore Bjornsson last week. He feels like a guy that's ready to pop. This is often like the Rocket, a tournament we see a first-time winner. I'll go with him. And speaking of young players looking to win right off the bat, I'm going to get a piece of Luke Clanton, one of the top young stars on the tour at 33-1. Moving down, I thought about Jake Knapp. He played pretty well last week. To me, the bombing is maybe not as much a factor in this one, so I think I'll stay away from him. But you know who I am going to take? And as I mentioned, I'm surprised that Kashmir Keith is at 50-1. Keith Mitchell. Like, you would think that with this caliber of tournament that would be lower. So we'll jump on that. Maybe just because I love the guy, get a piece of Tom Kim at 70-1 and just hope that he wakes up one of these days. But I have to admit, I'll take your advice on Lee Hodges and put a little sprinkle on him at 80. I did want to go down, way, way down to 125, 150-1. Bo Hostler is a guy that has led this tournament before, after one round, has been in the mix. Never seems to be able to put together the 4 rounds to actually win. But I will admit at 125-1, he's somewhat intriguing. But then you look at this group at 150, and how is Adam Hadwin 150-1 in this field, Pat? For a guy that, when he's on, is all about good irons and ball striking and those sort of things. I can't help but throw a couple bucks on Adam Hadwin, the Canadian, at 100-1. And, of those other guys, the one name that sort of stood out, and where is he? I think he's at 125-1. Or is it 50? I was just looking for Ben Griffin. And Ben Griffin, again, was, in the mix last week, a little bit down, sorry, Ben Martin, I should say. And Martin, did I just miss him? I don't know what the heck happened. I was just looking
he's 150-1. He's around Malnati.
Oh, there we
are. Montgomery. He's right in the mix there of all the 150s to 1.
Now, the best thing about this, and I don't really suggest doing this, but because of the nature of this tournament, there's a lot of guys that aren't normally there. There is a ton of guys that we never see this at 1,000-1. So if you wanted to drop a toonie on Brendan Burgoon, for instance, Del Solar, Endicott, the Kiz. I don't think Kiz is winning a tournament anytime soon. But
from the booth to the greens, I don't see it happening.
Peter Malinati, the bucket hat. Maybe he can make things happen. Anyways, there's a lot of real long shots in this one, but put that together. So what are you thinking? Let's definitely throw Theodore Bjornsson in this. I mean, I guess we could go Denny McCarthy and Theodore Bjornsson right off the bat. Yep. And then do we want to add Hodges? Do we want to go Keith Mitchell? What do you think for the third legger of a top 20?
You know what? I think you really opened my eyes to Clanton. I think his game maybe necessarily doesn't fit the John Deere because he's more of a bomber. But you are right. The profile fits, meaning it being like these are those tournaments where you win your first, or even you pop. Where even look at Bjornsson. Last year, he probably would have only been his maybe third or fourth professional start, and he finishes runner-up. So I kind of like Clanton there. Kashmir Keith. He was our first round play last week. It didn't work out, but I think this course actually fits his game a little bit better. He's inside the top 50 in driver accuracy, so I'm okay with either. I definitely want to get the first two on there that you said. I'd be open to either one of those that you mentioned, though, to put up as the third.
Well, you know what? Why don't we do it? Let's just take, listen, we're putting three of these on. Let's go Clanton, Thorbjornsen, and Denny McCarthy.
I like it.
Throw them on for top 20s and put that together. Hey, listen, before we go, I was just texting with Mayo actually earlier today. Mayo's, for everyone that was with us in the WST tourney last week, another couple options and opportunities to get into the finals for the trip to the Coolbet Open in Estonia in August. Pat Mayo's event, you can mark this down, is next Tuesday night, the 8th. And there's also one tomorrow as well, Pat.
Yes, we've got our qualifiers, kind of our last calls, but then again, not really a last call because you're going to have another opportunity for the July 8th tournament with Pat Mayo. But there's the Western Regional Open qualifier at 7 p.m. Pacific, and then an Eastern Regional qualifier at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you folks in Winnipeg, it's kind of a place where maybe you play the Eastern tournament. You see if you can last in that one. If you don't get to the final two, you might be able to even join in on that other one. And that will really be an opportunity. And hey, like we said, and if you don't make it out of those two, you always have the opportunity for Pat Mayo's tournament as well. And even if you don't win a spot in Mayo's, there is a bounty on his head. I don't know if any of the other guys will be playing as well, but if they do play, I think we're going to put a couple extra bounties on those fellas' heads as well.
Love it, Patty. Okay, listen, Remo will hold it down with you next week when I'm out at Aikens. Yes. And then we come back. We got Connor on board. We're expanding. Like, as great as the segments of you popping on, and we'll do this sort of thing. We've got another major coming up. We'll start cranking out our WST winners, Coolbet content.
Yes.
Cannot wait for that. So lots of good things to come in addition to having Connor out covering the Bombers and the Jets, and he'll be a big part of that as well. Let's go. Feathers and fins tonight.
Yes.
Cash is the whole one. Great stuff, Pat. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one.
Have a good one.
There's Pat Gregoire at P. Greggy. Give him a follow on X, and of course at Coolbet Canada. Now, let's get Remo back in here. We've got our Coolbet lines taken care of. Remo, because of yesterday's show, we were not able to, and it probably was a good thing because a bunch of the races had to be canceled because of the weather. But what that has given us tonight at Assiniboia Downs is a big slate of races with massive fields. I'm just looking at the 5th, the 6th, the 7th races, all huge fields. I think today has to be the double down day.
Oh,
okay. Where we either double our bets or just make a few extra ones to cover missed opportunities yesterday.
Yeah, I'll have to do that right now. Before I do, I got to pick some, change some of my bets. Well, I got my $20 in. I'll have to do the races I didn't bet on. But good topic in chat, Huss. Nashville, very clear off-season champions after free agency last year. Who do you got for off-season champions after day one of free agency? I think it could change, depending on who signs Ehlers.
Who are we raising the banner for? Who are we raising the banner for?
I don't know if we've ever had this type of banner for a team that just re-signed their own guys, but Florida has to be a big contender. Who thought they would be able to keep Marchand, Ekblad, Bennett? They lost Nate Schmidt, signed Jeff Petrie. They won the Stanley Cup. I think you got to give them off-season champion.
Shout out to Nate Schmidt, by the way, cashing in, getting a Stanley Cup ring, and now $3.5 million a year, going to Utah, playing with Brandon Tanev. Very happy for Nate Schmidt. Very easy guy to cheer for.
Utah got Tanev and JJ Peterka. I don't know if that's off-season champion worthy, but they made the off-season playoffs. I don't know, it's mid-seed.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas, I guess they got Marner.
They got the best free agent.
until the playoffs. But,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I'm fascinated to see how that goes with Marner in Toronto. And, man, I cannot wait to see the reaction he gets when the Vegas Golden Knights show up in Toronto when he returns. Probably as polarizing an athlete as that city has seen in I think he's going to get the Vince Carter treatment, to be perfectly honest, even though he's from there and he did a lot of great things while he was there.
Yeah, someone mentioned this in chat with Ehlers that, you would, if he signed with like Colorado, you cheer him in the pregame and then boo him whenever he touches the puck. Does Marner get, if they show him before the game, do they cheer him? Or if they did a video tribute? I haven't even looked at social media.
Crazy boos. I think it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, very interesting and, good for him. For getting the contract 8 years. Seemed like didn't want to have to go through free agency a couple times. There was speculation, okay, is he going to take a shorter deal? So something to consider there. Well, one move we hadn't talked about, actually, the offseason champions, Montreal, getting Noah Dobson in the trade. And then I like the trade they made trading Logan Mailloux. They have a lot of defensemen for Zach Bolduc, who I thought was very good, very tough to play against in the Jets-Blues series. He was impressive. Scored just under 20 goals as a rookie. I think Montreal has got a lot better, and they're getting ready to take a step forward. I would put Montreal as a contender.
Yeah, listen, I can't disagree with you. I think Montreal did a good job of pushing things forward. I think Dobson's a hell of a player, and you're right, Bolduc. I think once they got Dobson, they realized that Mailloux was probably expendable.
Yeah.
St. Louis looking for a good, talented puck-moving defenseman, so they made that deal, and but they paid the price for it. I mean, Bolduc had a real solid rookie season. Comes in, young player, under team control, and a guy that can definitely contribute in the bottom six of Montreal. So, to me, there's not a clear-cut offseason champs. But to your point, I can't really disagree with Florida because even though they weren't picking up everyone else's guys, they're the team to beat, and they found a way to bring back three hugely important parts of their Stanley Cup champion team.
Yeah, and they didn't just keep role players like these guys, like Ekblad was on their top pair. Sam Bennett was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. And no one thought that they would, if you had to say, okay, are these guys going to keep all three of these free agents and had to put a line on going to free agency, you'd be like, oh, there's no way they can keep all three. And somehow they managed to do that. And it took, giving Brad Marchand a 6-year contract and Aaron Ekblad taking a serious hometown discount. But that's what you can do when you have the beach huts and you have nice weather and their practice facility.
And the taxes don't hurt either.
And I never said that. And the back-to-back Cup champs. You can do that when you have all that. And the other thing.
I mean, I'm like you. I don't spend a lot of time talking about the taxes. It is what it is. I think it's a bit of a cop-out and making excuses. But I will say the one day, and I think Elliot Friedman did a good job of this. Now, I'm surprised they're still talking about the league actually doing something. I don't think that's happening. I think it's almost a waste of time discussing it. The one day that it does really matter is July 1st. I mean, anything like UFA deals, okay, that probably does, move the needle and make it easier for some of those teams to sign players or make the cap work. Other than that, though, not really. But, we did see, a guy like Mitch Marner, he got his $12 million US. Well, that $12 million in Nevada, certainly more than $12 million in Toronto or Winnipeg or Vancouver or California and some of the other places in the States. But, the Panthers don't need any other banners. They've got the banner that everyone really wants, but still a very, very impressive bit of work by Bill Zito. Maybe he can finally win GM of the year after Jim Nils won it 3 years in a row.
Yeah, and I don't think Jim Nils should not have won it last year. He didn't do any moves. They said all the moves that he made was drafting 5 years prior. And if you want to give it to him because he pulled off the Rantanen trade, that was their big move. I don't think he made any other big moves. And the GM of the year, it's kind of been a culmination of leading up to having a good season, not the moves that you made that year, because Kevin Cheveldayoff probably should have won last year for signing Scheifele and Hellebuck and doing the Nemestikov trade and doing the Niederreiter.
Here's the thing. Yeah. What's the GM of the year? It's the timing of the voting of that award that's so weird. That award is voted on after the second round of the playoffs.
Yes.
It's not after the regular season. It's not after the playoffs. It's right in the middle. So when the Jets face planted against the Avs, there went Chevy. I mean, like everything that he had done all year long, which was really impressive, was for naught because of how small they came up when it mattered the most. And then, for instance, last year, Rantanen has this monster first couple rounds of the playoffs, so they give it to him. I guarantee you, if they waited after the third round, Bill Zito would have been getting all those votes. So take it for what it's worth. Timing is a major, major factor in that GM of the Year award. But Bill Zito and the Panthers right now are the team, and everyone else is chasing them. No word on Ehlers yet, huh?
Chris Johnson said, 4 hours ago that, let me get the exact tweet here, word for word. I don't want to. With top UFA Nikolai Ehlers now down to a few teams he's deciding between, the expectation is that his decision should be made at some point today. And that was 10:37 a.m. So naturally, the decision, he's probably watching us right now doing this show, waiting for us to hit stop streaming, and then they will hit send on the tweet confirming. You think I'll put out a video announcing it? Is there a line on which insider is going to break the news?
Will he have a full page ad in the Free Press? A thank you to Winnipeg Jet fans. I guess they don't really do the full page ads anymore.
They put an
Instagram post.
You do an Instagram post with the ChatGPT generated goodbye. Isn't that what you do now? Is he even active on social media? I think he's on Instagram. I would hope that he does something here as a goodbye. I mean, he had a great 10 years here, drafted by the organization. Remember watching him with Halifax in junior. It was awesome. These, many exciting moments. He did have some big playoff goals in the series. No one remembers, against Edmonton. And he had a nice playoffs this year as well. Flying up and down the wing, the power play, #1 in the league. It's gonna be sad when the news ultimately breaks that, I don't know what it's gonna be. Washington, Carolina, Anaheim, Tampa Bay. Who else? Colorado.
Don't say Colorado.
Colorado would be Carolina. No one would care. Colorado would be pain, like beside Nathan McKinnon on the top line there.
Yeah, well, and having to see it and watch it 5-6 times a year, and then potentially in the playoffs as well. I will appreciate it if it is in the East. And again, we'll wish Nick well, but again, we don't have any clarity. Maybe no one knows what the hell they're talking about. Maybe Ehlers is just having fun. He's going to turn this around with like, guess what? I'm not going anywhere.
Oh man, if he pulls a Sam Bennett and said, oh my God, you'd have to shut down Portage in Maine, right?
There'd be some people that would want to celebrate that way. That being said, Friday, huge day for the organization. We'll hear from Jonathan Toews, the presser, and we'll probably kick the show off with that and take it live from Canada Life Center when things get going. Should be a big one. All right, let's do some picks here for the track tonight.
I did put mine in. I think I got a couple dollars left. I got to do. I got like every race. 1, 2, 3.
Me too.
Oh, I got to do 4. I got to do, and I got to do another $8 on race 4. Okay.
Okay, and I'm doing one more triactor box for the final race.
This is a big one. I wasn't prepared for the double, but I guess that's the rules.
You know what? We're cranking it out. Oh, I do like Will is chill.
This is a good one. I'm doing this one.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, one sec. Sorry.
All right. Okay, I've got mine in. And we are ready to go. Let's go through the races tonight. 7:30 p.m. live racing. I'm going to head out. I'll probably make a few additional wagers with cash there, but I'm locking my picks in for tonight. And in race number 1, I'm starting this off, Reem, with a $5 win bet on number 6. That's what he said. Not one of the top 3 program selections. So going a little bit off the board, trying to get a nice win in race number 1. Just a straight up 6 to win.
Okay, wait. Which one? Okay, I'm just putting
Race
in my last bet, and I'm going to do another. Okay, you got 6?
Yeah,
okay.
$5 on 6 to win.
Okay, I have Tooney on 1 to win, and then I have a. Sorry, I'm not ready for the. I have another trifecta box. I'm just trying to sign in. Sorry. Just go to number 2.
Sign in. All right, race number 2 for me. Triactor box 167. 1 is War is Hell. 6 Rocky Top Mischief. And then I'm throwing in Hibernation, a 167 triactor box for race number 2.
Triactor. Okay, and then I'm on race number 2, and I have a 1-5 exacta box. Silver Creek Kid and War is Hell.
Nicely done. Did you take? You just had the $2 bet from race 1.
I have a 136 triactor box, and I have race horse 1 to win as well on a separate bet.
Cool. All right, race number 3. We're going $4 bet number 2 to win. He knows we know.
Okay, I have an exacta box 2-5, so I have he knows we know with the favorite. Better luck next time.
Nicely done. All right, moving on to race number 4. All right, I'm going $5 on number 1 to win, not true. And then I also have a $2 exacta, 1-8, not true. And then Frankly coming up in second.
I think I have that. Well, I have 1-4-8 here. I have not true, Forgot the Roses, and Frankly.
Beautiful. All right, now with our bonus day, I'm rolling. I got 3 triactor boxes in the final 3 races. Today, we're going to be trying to get a big one today, much like the fishing next week at Aikens Lake. Race number 5, I'm going with the 2-3-9 exactor box. 2 is Labrat, the favorite. 3 is Be La Soul. And number 9, Bandera Azteca.
Okay, I just have Bandera Azteca to win.
All right. Race number 6. This is, I think, the crazy one. Yeah, well,
this is a crazy race. There's like 10 horses.
10 horses. $1 triactor box. 1 Exotics Bear. 4 Aces High. And number 10, always the little one. 1-4-10.
Okay, I'm similar. I have 4-9-10. So 4 Aces High, Donna's Final Word, and always the little one. So we're similar.
Nicely done. All right, and then the final race is race number 7. I'm going $1 triactor box, 3, 6, 10. 3 of my favorite horses from the last couple of years. Big Ticket, Texas Rain, and Will is Chill.
Okay, I just have Texas Rain to win.
Nice. Maybe I'll jump on that at the track. I'll bet that one myself. All right, so there are picks. We doubled down today because we missed yesterday. 7:30 is live racing tonight. Great night to get out to the track. And of course, if you're planning for maybe next week, make a call to 885-3000 and try and get a spot in the dining room for tomorrow's for the incredible prime rib buffet. Gold Ice tonight, track tonight, Blue Jays tonight. I'm very pumped about this Jays Gold Ice parlay too, Remis, that Patty put up at Coolbet.
Yeah, I think the Sea Bears. Oh no, they play again on their Friday. The Sea Bears play. They did lose yesterday on Canada. Now 5-8, but yeah, Gold Eyes, Blue Jays parlay. What do you call it? Fish and wings?
Feathers and fins.
Feathers and fins. How do you stay away with that kind of name? So,
well, tomorrow on the program, it's going to be a busy one. Ken Weeb's going to join us. We'll have the latest on the Bombers.
Ed's in, yeah.
Ed Tate's going to join us from Calgary to set that one up. And we'll recap the latest, which potentially could involve Nikolai Ehlers having a new home with Brandon Rowicki as well.
There's some speculation in chat. What if, this Jonathan Taves press conference on Friday, like Nikolai Ehlers just walks out out of nowhere to a surprise? How crazy would that be?
I wish we could have had an Ehlers flight tracker. Oh my God, he's taking a trip to Washington. He's going back to Montreal. What? The Ehlers flight tracker is coming to Winnipeg just in time for the 1:00 press conference with Jonathan Taves on Friday.
That would be wild.
I think we're delusional right now.
No,
but again, I mean, you know what? You know what they say? It ain't over till it's over. And from many reports, it basically is for the Winnipeg Jets, which really sucks. But we will treat it as fact once it happens here on the program, which could be tomorrow. So we may be opening up with Sarah McLachlan playing "I Will Remember You" and pictures of Ehlers during his incredible decade here in Winnipeg. But we'll, as I say, we'll wait to have that happen until it actually does. And that will be tomorrow's show beginning at 1 p.m. Ed Tate in Calgary, Brandon Rowicki, Ken Weeb, and the latest. And who knows, maybe the Jets will get in on some of the other guys that are still kicking around, waiting for Ehlers to sign and move on to their next best offer. Bottom line is, where we'll be tomorrow, 1:00 p.m. right here on WST. Connor will be back on the show on Friday with a full recap of the week out at development camp. Any of you that are going out there, you'll see him there. Make sure to say hi. And a full recap of the Bomber game tomorrow. But join us tomorrow, game day edition, Bomber style, and the latest on Ehlers Watch and the rest of Day 3 of NHL Free Agency. Thanks to everyone that joined us today. Taylor Allen and Murat. Of course, Michael Remis killing it, getting us on and off the air. And, of course, a big thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. For Remo, I'm Huss. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.